Okay, Ken, are we on?
You are, sir.
Okay. So I want to welcome everybody to the Vacaville Unified School Board meeting, February 11th. And I'd like to take a moment of reflection first. And I just want to say there's been just a lot of intensity going on. We have an impeachment trial. We have kids that should be at school, parents who can't be at work, and we have a pandemic, the worst in 100 years. So let's just take a moment and ground and kind of come back. Okay. Daniel, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh,
Sure.
okay. He's going to put up the flag. There it is.
There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. Am I doing that all right? I haven't done this in a while.
We're all doing it, for which it stands,
One
One
nation.
nation, under God, indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for
for
all.
all. Sorry, Daniel, it's unusual. We're usually all doing it together at the big meeting, so sorry about that. Okay. Jane, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Sir, there are not.
Okay, thank you. So can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move for it.
Daniel?
Second.
Cecil. Okay, we have a roll call vote, and everything's a roll call vote because we're on Zoom. That's the rules.
Okay, Mr. Connor, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Dally,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Santillan,
Yes.
Mr. Serrato,
Yes.
Ms. Welsh,
Yes.
and Mr. Kitsis.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we have a report from closed session. During closed session, the board discussed site facility safety, personnel issues, and bargaining unit negotiations. The following actions were taken during the closed session. First one was we approved the VUSD site safety plans for 2020-21 as presented by a unanimous roll call vote of 7-0. And second, we approved the appointment of Ali Eads as Director of Secondary Education by a unanimous roll call vote of 7-0. Okay, next we have comments from the floor, and I just want to, on items not on the agenda, and I'd like to just explain something first. Normally, we only have 21 minutes per topic. And in this case, there are a lot of people that would like to speak on the school reopening. So rather than close people down and not allow them to speak because it's such a very important topic, we're going to do is go to 2 minutes per person, but allow the people that want to speak. So just know that you have 2 minutes, and know that if somebody's already said the same thing, you can kind of skip over it and just say what you need to say. Finally, if there's anybody that has not signed up to speak for this topic, for not on the agenda, please raise your hand now through the raise hand feature, and we will take your name down. Teresa, are you taking care of that?
Yes, I'm ready. I've got a list already going. So are you ready to start right now?
I'm ready, and I just want to say that the way we're doing it on Zoom is that if you haven't raised your hand by now, we're not going to be able to speak. So I'm just going to give 1 more minute. If you want to speak, raise your hand now. Otherwise, we're cutting off the speaking after that, or the ability to speak after that.
Okay, then our first speaker is Christina Holden.
Christina, are you there?
I don't see that name in the list of attendees. Hold, I have a Delaney Holden. Oh, here's Christina with a K. Got it. Sorry, found her.
There we
Okay,
go. I
Christina,
couldn't
you're up.
unmute for some reason. Good evening. I'm the parent of a fourth grader at Sierra Vista and a junior at Vaca High. I speak to you tonight to urge you to do the right thing for our children. Remember why you chose to run for school board in the first place. I would hope it was to be in the position to help children access a sound education. However, over the past several months, it is absolutely felt that the board is in a place to continue to push the VTA's agenda of keeping schools closed. Months ago, your constituents were surveyed and the vast majority of us spoke, saying we want schools to reopen. And this was even before all of the science and the CDC came out saying schools should be open. The board chose to ignore the survey results and side with the VTA. Teachers are essential. Yard duties and other support staff are in person providing assistance to some children. Yet teachers are not required to even show up to their classrooms daily. The union has said numerous times and even has photos of signs on their websites saying Vacaville students deserve the best teachers and staff. Is this only true for them when their wages and benefits are in jeopardy? The union expects parents to show up for them during those negotiations. Where are they when we need them to show up for our children? The teachers union is the only essential profession refusing to return to work. Teachers shape our children who are our future. And because of the selfishness and greed, our entire future is at risk. This has now become a mental health crisis. My autistic child has regressed so much that he has begun to self-harm. He is only 10 years old. Is he and all of the children in Vacaville less important to you than a union that you rely on for endorsements and contributions? Parents are not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for something our children are entitled to, an education. I plead with you to stand for them. We parents will not stop. Science does not support what you are doing. CDC and Dr. Fauci do not support what you're doing. And obviously the majority of parents do not support.
Christina, your time has expired, Christina. Thank you so much for your.
Stand up for the kids. Stand up for the kids and not
Thank you,
VTA. It's
Christina.
time.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Okay, our next speaker is Marlena Edmonds.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, Marlena.
Okay. Good evening. I asked many kids in our school district how distance learning has affected their lives. Here are their answers. I want to do school all day at school and see my teacher, age 5. It is hard to focus. I try to concentrate on my teacher, but it is hard. It makes me mad. Age 8. It has made my life horrible. It sucks to be in school because I can't get anything right no matter how hard I try. Age 14. Not being able to be around friends, teammates, and teachers has taken a toll on me, age 14. My mental health, motivation, and physical health are suffering. You adults are failing us. Remember, we are essential, age 16. My eyes hurt from watching a computer screen all day, age 9. Being on a computer drains me. I often feel down and worry about my future, age 15. I feel depressed not being at school with friends all day, age 15. I've struggled more than I ever have, age 15. Distance learning has made students like myself not want to reach out for help. We rather get a bad score on a test, age 16. I used to be so happy every second of my day, but that is now gone, age 17. My mind is slow and tired. Some days looking at the computer screen makes me feel sick, so I shut it off. I stress constantly about competing with other students that are in person to get into my dream college, age 17. It is much easier to not pay attention and get lost in a subject, age 12. And lastly, online school has taken a serious toll on my mental health. I have been going through depressive episodes frequently, age 15. Recently, a teacher from Palmdale, California said, I want my kids to be back in, but I don't want them to be a heartbreaking statistic. I'm here to tell you tonight that our kids are already a heartbreaking statistic. On behalf of these children, I'm asking you to do what is right, stand up for them, and open our schools.
Thank you, Marlena.
Okay, our next speaker is Jennifer Longoria.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, my name is Jen Longoria, and I've worked for a local healthcare system for more than 20 years, and both my daughters have been students at VUSD since kindergarten. I'm here tonight to advocate for our kids and their right to an equal education. This is not happening in our community. As you know, there are private and charter schools that are open here in Solano, as well as neighboring communities and across the US, successfully following the safety protocols put in place. If you consider distance learning equivalent to in-person, you are mistaken. A year of distance learning has brought many struggles to our children. I understand that last March through June, the virus was new, the fear was high, and everyone was doing the best they could. Now that we understand the science and have safety protocols to follow, we, including VUSD, you, the board, and the teachers union, are responsible to do the right thing and get these kids back in school where they can thrive. My daughters are struggling academically, socially, and emotionally. Sitting in front of a screen all day through the motion and going through the motion is not an education. I demand more for my kids. I'm not debating the validity of the COVID. It's a terrible virus. The science shows that kids are not super spreaders and should return to in-person because the mental and emotional damage is overwhelming. One of my daughters has had a tough year dealing with severe anxiety and depression. My daughter is not alone. These issues are now becoming the norm, and it's unacceptable. Citing an article written and published by UCSF, will kids be safe when they return to school? Will everyone else? The science says yes, but proper planning and protocols are key. How has VUSD used the COVID dollars to reopen our schools safely? The money received was not an incentive to remain closed. Every teacher student is vaccinated, or unrealistic demands like a new ventilation system is installed. It was to follow the CDC recommendations. And here we are a year into this, knowing you had the power to open the schools in the fall and didn't is infuriating. We think of children as germ spreaders, and they typically are. When a kid comes home with a runny nose, cough, the family usually gets sick. But with COVID, the science shows that kids aren't as infectious as adults are. One reason is that the virus causes COVID enters the body via structures on our cell receptors, which children produce fewer than adults do.
Hey, Jennifer, that's your time, Jennifer.
Thank you. Do the right thing.
Thank you. And I just want to tell everybody, I don't want to be a heavy, but when the 2 minutes are over, I need to say it's time because we have a lot of people to talk. So thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Angela Higdon.
Good evening. As the parent of two Vacaville students, a class of 2020 graduate and a member of the class of 2021, I'm here to speak to you and to address the VTA about opening our schools. As an educator and someone with underlying health conditions, I was all for the move to distance learning last spring and even in the early fall. I feel it's only fair to acknowledge the effort so many of the district's educators have put into distance learning. My kids' teachers last year and this year have done an amazing job, and I thank them for that. However, after hearing more from the CDC and local physicians and watching schools in our region reopen and successfully navigate through the spikes we saw, I implore you to open as soon as possible. Districts in Napa County opened on October 26th and will be moving to phase 3 of their plan on March 1st. Marin County schools opened September 8th, and here in Vacaville, private and public charters opened, and all have done so while maintaining the safety of our staff and students. I encourage you to look at Napa Valley Unified's website as they report COVID cases on a weekly basis. Since reopening, NVUSD reports 117 of 1,700, or 6.9% of staff members have tested positive. And out of almost 17,000 students, 467 students, or 2.75%, have tested positive. What really stands out to me as Napa's numbers is that 283 of these students were virtual learners, while only 183 were in person. On the other hand, Chief John Carley spoke to a group regarding the alarming trend in crime statistics here in Vacaville. Child abuse up 300%, juvenile disturbing the peace up 219%, and suicide attempts up 1,366%. This is alarming. I believe COVID is real, and one positive case is too many, but alarming statistics scream to me that not allowing our students to return to the classroom is potentially subjecting them to things far more dangerous than this virus. COVID is not going to disappear anytime soon, and we have to learn to manage life with it. I understand your hands are tied as long as we're in the purple tier, but please do the right thing, come back and renegotiate for our kids, and let's get these kids back to school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person is Teresa Neff.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Teresa Neff. Our children need to be back to in-person learning as soon as we meet the government's criteria for reopening. Our children deserve better than to be subject to having their right to education stamped out due to fear and politics. I understand that for the last year, schools and teachers operated in triage mode and did the best they could with what we are dealing with. A year later, we know more about how to prevent COVID and how COVID spreads and how we can safely operate in schools in person than we did before. We can't continue to make decisions around our children's education and emotional health based in fear and not science. Charter schools and private schools in our community and public schools in our neighboring Northern California communities are open and functioning. Schools that have been operating are sharing best practices with the Vacaville Unified School District. With that being said, the school board, parents, community, and teachers need to work together to start implementing a return to school plan immediately. The CDC has laid out clear guidelines to be able to make this happen. Our district has spent money getting every Vacaville school COVID ready, and we are compliant with the CDC and health department recommendations. Last fall, it was agreed upon with the VTA that even after meeting public guidelines set forth by our governor, our children would not be able to return to in-person learning. This is not acceptable. We are asking and we are demanding that changes be made immediately so we can start phasing in in-person learning. We are asking that the MOU be amended as quickly as possible to allow for this. Nothing will be perfect. If we wait until the world is perfectly dealing with COVID, then children will not be back in the 2021 school year in person. We cannot continue to have our children's education and well-being controlled by unions that are demanding things not recommended by the state or CDC in regards to reopening our schools. We are parents and we will not relent.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Elizabeth Grindell. Not sure I said that right. Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And Teresa, you did say that right. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
A spokesperson for the Walnut Creek Hospital said that doctors typically see 20 to 25 suicide attempts a year and 6 deaths from suicide annually. So far in January, there have been 21 suicides and 5 deaths. They're seeing in 1 month what they typically see in 1 year. According to the same report, the doctors at John Muir have seen more deaths by suicide during this quarantine period than deaths from COVID-19. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death every year for those between 15 and 34. You guys were at the school on Wednesday when our students were in the parking lot for their Zoom classes. You saw how much pep that put in their step, and that was only getting them into the school parking lot. Can you even imagine how energized they would feel getting back into their classrooms? We could have opened for in-person school in October, but you failed us and our kids. Now that we are approaching moving back to the red tier, we are begging you, do not fail us again and delay getting our kids back into the classroom. Many schools have paved the way, showing that we can safely return to school. Schools within our city, county, state, and across the nation have proved this. The CDC has stated that schools can safely reopen without vaccinating teachers. Everyone felt comfortable using the CDC as a safe source to cite before. So why are we ignoring their statements now? Today, we should be having a different conversation. We should be opening schools and talking about that. But instead, we're still here begging you to open, begging you to listen to our voices and those of our kids and that of science. Myself and many other parents welcome future conversations in person, socially distanced and maxed up, to speak with you further about this, to see how we can help. We want to be an asset. We want to help you guys. Please utilize us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, our next speaker is Tyler Nicoletti.
I don't find that name in the attendee list.
Okay, let me look
Please.
at 1 second.
You spell the last name for me, please?
Nickole.
I have a Karen Nick. No, I don't have that. Sorry.
That's, okay, let's go on to the another person. I'll look up the email and see where, if there's another name. The next speaker then will be Kyle Fine.
Unfortunately, that user has a version of Zoom that will not allow me to turn on their microphone. Sorry.
Is Randy Fine on there? I believe that's the parent. Perhaps he can.
Yes.
Can maybe you promote her and ask her?
Okay, nice.
Yes.
Hello? Get away from this.
Okay,
Hello?
one
Can
at
you
a
guys
time.
hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Hi, my name is Kyle Fina. I'm a 9th grader at Vacaville High School. When I was a little, my neighbors nicknamed me the ambassador because I was my own one kid welcoming committee. My mom jokes that I've never met a stranger and that all the employees at Costco would say hi, Kyle, whenever we would go shopping. I'm a people person, like making people smile. Maybe it's just like the youngest of 3 Fiend brothers and always being around people or needing to have a personality that wouldn't get lost in the shuffle. I don't know why, but I love seeing people and being a part of something that I love. I love the energy and the vibe of helping people and talking to friends and teachers. I miss school because it's a place I could see people and interact
Mommy
with them.
did it. High five.
I miss feeling of being a part of something. I miss feeling like I'm out at school. Saying what's up in the halls or during passing period, having a teacher look across the room and call me or come over to check my work and
Finish
help
your
me.
bath, okay?
Or being able to read out in the quad.
Hey guys, there's
I was
a
kind
lot
of
of
people talking. I
background
did
noise
mine.
there, so
Jen
it's
did
hard to
hers.
hear
Jen got
you.
cut off.
They can't hear me.
Oh, they can't hear you? Wait.
No, because there's background noise.
What?
Yeah, it's Teresa Neff's microphone going.
Oh,
Hello?
hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Can you mute that, Ken?
It is
Okay,
muted.
go ahead, sorry.
Where was I? Able to read out in the quad because it's a nice day and my teachers trust me enough to let me do my work outside. There is so much more learning in school than what's taught from the textbooks. All these and so many daily moments in school made me feel like I mattered. These moments motivated me to try hard so they would be proud of me. This year as a freshman at Vaca High, I have very few moments that I have made feel like I mattered. Mr. Battersea leaving a Post-it note on my door over winter break, and yesterday him and Miss Elliott coming out to the parking lot to meet me in person and help me with my math. Years from now, I probably won't remember the math problem Miss E helped me on, but I will remember being out in the parking lot, logged into class and struggling to understand my math, and that I mattered enough to her to come out and help me to teach. Yesterday was the best day of my freshman year.
You're gonna have to wrap it up in soon because you're expired.
Okay.
Just, I know you got interrupted, so why don't you take about 15 more seconds and finish it up?
They give you
All right.
15 more seconds.
I just want to ask you guys to please open up K through 12. Let us learn, show us how much we matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, the Tyler person, his last name is Collins. Tyler Collins is next.
I'm sorry, but that's another version of Zoom that's out of date and I can't promote them. I can't.
Can
bring
you
them in.
try Christina Collins? That's the parent, I believe.
Yes, I have that.
Okay.
Christina Collins is now authorized to speak.
Okay, either Christina or
guys
Tyler,
hear me?
your mic's up, ready.
Can you hear him?
We can.
Okay, good. All right. My name is Tyler Collins, and I'm a freshman at Vaca High. Yesterday, I sat in front of the high school with several students to show that we want to be in school to learn. Academics are important to us, and we are not learning well with distance learning. I typically can finish a day's work of assignments in 10 minutes, and then I have to sit on Zoom waiting for the class to end. If this is supposed to be 2 days of work, clearly I should be learning more. I need to be in school to learn and be challenged to be prepared for college. I respect my teachers for the effort they put in trying to teach us, but we are not learning as much as we would in school. I'm the oldest of 4 children, and my parents both have to work, and I frequently have to go downstairs to help my younger siblings with their schoolwork. My little sisters often break down in tears. They are frustrated and stressed out and need to be in a classroom. I'm aware and grateful that I have a lot of support at home, and I'm able to help my siblings, but there are students out there that don't have as much support. So if I'm struggling, think of everyone else who's struggling even more. My friends and I were excited when we were told that we would be able to go back to school in the fall, but that date keeps being pushed back, and at this point, we have nothing to look forward to. If our county's numbers don't allow us to return to school, can the school board please consider filing for a waiver so we can go back? Other schools in our town have been in session full time, and if they can do it safely, why aren't we even given the same chance to attend even part-time? I spent the last year waiting for something to happen so I can go back to school, and nothing has changed. Now I'm stepping forward and asking for something to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Okay. Next, we have Alyssa Mandel.
I do not see that name in the list.
There is an Alyssa, Ken, with the hand raise,
Oh, with no last name.
but I don't know if that's her. I'm hoping, yes.
Okay, I'll turn it on.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, Alyssa.
Hello, my name's Alyssa Mandel, and I'm currently a 9th grader at Vaca High. I'm here today to share some reasons why we need to be back in the classroom. I'd like to begin by addressing the way our schedules are formatted. It is making it hard to retain the information. In August, we went periods 1, 3, and 5 for 6 weeks. Then we switched to periods 2, 4, and 6 for another 6 weeks. Without daily repetition of all subjects, we struggle to maintain what we have learned. Some students are taking languages, and not having daily repetition of that class for the whole school year makes it very difficult to learn. Also, without adequate supervision, it makes it very easy for kids to not pay attention in class, and we are easily distracted. If we were in the classroom, we would be held accountable for our actions. Social interaction is essential for child development. It is not healthy for us to be locked up in our rooms looking at a computer screen for hours on end. We are concerned about what our future looks like. Nobody knows what the ultimate outcome will be from all of this. I get that we are in a pandemic, but that does not mean we can't be in school while following the needed precautions. Based on our age, we know how to follow the CDC guidelines. We can do whatever is being asked of us. For example, wearing masks and being 6 feet apart. If someone is not comfortable with going back to school due to our world's conditions, they can continue virtual learning. Private schools are open safely, giving kids a quality education, so why can't we? Thank you for our time.
Thank you very much, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next speaker is Emily Haskell.
Good evening, Board President Kitsitz, fellow board members, and Dr. Shamiya. My name is Emily Haskell. I'm the parent of 4 Vacaville students, a 1st grader, 4th grader, and 8th grader, and 11th grader. I'm here tonight with all my fellow parents asking you to please reopen schools for in-person learning. We talk about safety and opening schools. We need to have things in place and to be safe. I was an educator for 12 years before I took a step away to adopt my 4 foster kids, which happened a year ago. I was an assistant principal at a neighboring school. On Fridays, the walking never stopped because kids who were living in dangerous environments and their homes weren't safe acted up. Their anxiety affected them and their bodies flooded with toxic stress, and they couldn't handle it. And so they behaved because they were going to be out of their safe place for 2 days. 2 days. And they reacted so aggressively. Forget Christmas break. The week before Christmas break, I walked 30,000 steps every day. Before, when they would leave for summer, those kids would break every relationship because they were so sad because they were going to be out of their safe place. So as we talk about safety for adults, please consider that so many of our kids in Vacaville have not been safe for the past year. They've been in dangerous situations and they've been away from the people that care about them the most. I hope that what happened in the fall with this delay of not negotiating until we're in the red tier, and then a long negotiation, and then a signed MOU, and then we start school even later. It seemed very apparent from the outside that no one on the board or the union actually wanted to reopen schools. So I hope that we are at that place now, that when we're ready to reopen, we are ready to go, that things are negotiated and signed, and that is not delayed even longer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Haskell.
Okay, our next speaker is Ariana Haskell.
I don't see that name, Teresa.
I believe Emily Haskell is the parent. Maybe we could try her.
Okay, sure, let's go back.
I'm sorry, she's not available tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then our next speaker will be Nadia Barlow.
I have a Jacob Barlow.
Let's try that one.
All right.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Nadia Barlow and I attend Willis Jepson Middle School. I'm in the 8th grade. I'm here on behalf of the students of the VUSD. I would like to say that this year has been rough, and keeping people home hasn't improved anything but the spread of COVID-19 and not my peers' mental health well-being. It has been difficult to focus and always made me feel overwhelmed and tired from staring at a screen all day. I believe that would be the best decision to let us go back to attending in-person school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, the next speaker is Jason Fortunati.
Can you hear me okay?
Can, Jason, thank you.
All right, thank you, board members. I'd like to start by expressing my sincere appreciation and admiration for our teachers. My family and I are deeply indebted to the leadership and wisdom you impart on our children. I've lived in this community for nearly 30 years and have had children in the school district for nearly a decade. I've gotten to know many local teachers, past and present, and consider several to be my friends, all of whom are ready, willing, and able to get back into the classroom immediately. However, fear of isolation and retribution prevent many of them from expressing this desire. Just yesterday, I watched a Novato school board meeting, which took place on February 8th in Marin County. What I learned is that in Marin County, 17,000 students grades K through 8 have been attending in-classroom school 2 to 5 days a week since September. According to Marin County Public Health and the Office of Education, as of February 5th, after 5 months of in-classroom instruction, there have been only 10 cases of suspected in-school transmission. Of these 10 cases, 5 were student-to-student, 3 were adult-to-adult, and 2 were adult-to-student transmission. Similarly, in North Carolina, a sample of 90,000 students attending in-classroom instruction over a 9-week period resulted in just 32 infections, none of which were student-to-teacher transmission. Our children are not a threat. Marin County has led the way, at least locally anyhow, Marin County has led the way in showing that schools can reopen safely. So my question to you is, why is Vacaville Unified seemingly so far behind? The director of the CDC announced recently that schools could safely reopen if the proper precautions were taken. Additionally, a journal was published stating that there's no evidence that schools have contributed to an increased community transmission. Evidence is, however, mounting daily of the social, emotional, and academic toll distance learning is taking on our kids. We've all made sacrifices, most of all our kids. The time is now. It's time to get our kids back in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Valerie Brown.
Hello, my name is Valerie Brown and I have 4 children in our wonderful school district. I am here today because I am concerned about their emotional well-being as well as the quality of education. The CDC has said, and I quote, "Beyond getting sick, many adolescents' social, emotional, and mental well-being has been impacted by the pandemic. Trauma faced at this developmental stage may have long-term consequences across their lifespan. Some adolescents may have been increasingly exposed to abuse and neglect, violence at home, and sexual violence. Their increased online activity also puts them at increased risk for online harm, such as online sexual exploitation, cyberbullying, online risk-taking behavior, and exposure to potentially harmful content," close quote. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for children ages 10 and 19, and during the pandemic, it seems to be getting worse. I will skip all the statistics about that since they have been brought up already during this meeting. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said during a briefing last week that, and I quote, "There is increasing data to suggest that schools can safely reopen and that vaccination of teachers is not a prerequisite for safe reopening of schools." Again, that was the CDC Director. At the same time, the White House press secretary announced today that tomorrow morning, the CDC will be coming out with new guidelines for the safely reopening schools. I am just hoping that our district is ready for when this announcement comes and that we don't have to wait another week for the classrooms to be prepared or 3 more weeks after we get back into our red tier. Actually, why don't we have the teachers already teaching from school? It will probably facilitate and expedite the transition to in-person teaching. I understand the fear of guiding some of the teachers and board members. What I don't understand is how so many places, so many schools around here, Lincoln, El Dorado, and even schools here in the area are already open. I just ask the board that to please feel the children like they matter and to please make a difference for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Okay, our next speaker is Haley Edmonds.
I have a Marlena and a Danielle Edmonds.
Try Marlena, please.
All right.
That's the parent.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So my name's Haley Edmonds, and I'm a junior at Vacaville High School, and I'm 16, and I have a lot of built up emotions and feelings about reopening schools for the past year. And I would like to say that not a day has gone by where I don't miss waking up at 8 a.m. I know it's silly waking up early, but I miss driving to school, seeing my friends, and walking to class, going to cheer practice, putting on my uniform, and going to football games. I remember walking in and out afterwards and seeing a sea Vaca High Letterman jackets. And now looking back on it, it seems like such a distant memory. The past year, school not being open has affected me in so many ways. Saying that has made students sad, bored, unproductive, and unmotivated would be an understatement. I don't think there truly is a way to describe to you how frustrating this past year of not being in school for students has been. I think I speak for most students when I say that I haven't truly felt like I've learned anything in a year. Distance learning is not the same. When you're in class, it's so much easier to raise your hand and ask for help than being on Zoom and unmuting yourself. I feel as though I'm being deprived of my teenage years and a true education, and I would just like to ask you guys to consider reopening schools again.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Christina Meek.
Hello. I'd like to encourage the board and the VTA to quickly negotiate to get our kids back in school. Solano County has reached the number of cases necessary to allow our K-6 kids on campus. They should be on campus tomorrow. I'd like to see the school board put a deadline on a teachers union and the negotiations that need to take place to revise the current MOU in effect. You and the VTA are wasting time yet again. Also, I'd like to strongly encourage you to begin talking about the 7th through 12th grade kids now. That way, when we're in the red tier, which we are fast approaching, can get back to school immediately. In addition, I'd also like to ask you to please consider more than 25% for those kids. That is not enough. Our kids have missed out on so much, and I urge you to at least consider at 50% or more. If a deal is not met and a date is not set for our kids to return to campus, the parents and kids together will be organizing district-wide protests such as No Zoom Wednesdays again, or sit-ins at their appropriate schools by month's end. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Meek.
Okay, next speaker is Julie Ross.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. For the past 11 months, essential workers have continued to go to their jobs. Many parents, like my husband, an engineer for Procter & Gamble, and me, a registered nurse, leave our house and go to work. We don't work alone or in a bubble suit or anything like that, but we wear masks and that has protected us. We were fortunate to get a spot at Bethany Lutheran for our 8-year-old child. 5 days a week, she goes, 8 a.m. to 2:30. There have been no viral outbreaks. Before this, she struggled significantly with online school. And our older high school age daughter had to quote unquote, watch her sister during the day while trying to do her own online classes. You can imagine how well that worked. This is the terrible situation that so many families find themselves in. Sometimes it is not a safe situation. Most people cannot find or afford an alternative. Regarding the union's demands, zero risk seems to be the criteria. This has been the problem all along. Instead of managing, reducing, and mitigating risk, the all-powerful union and even some board members are clinging to the belief that somehow they should be guaranteed a world of zero risk. That is a fantasy. Every institutional decision-making process is about trade-offs and weighing the pros and cons. Here we have a risk to school staff on one side, weighed against damage to students' lives, education, and the mental health and well-being of families. And the institution has come to 100% on the side of eliminating risk to staff. There's no balance, no weight is given to the other side, our precious children. The staff are all that seem to matter. Teachers want zero risk and 100% salary. Meanwhile, the children are suffering. School employees do not get to decide that their health concerns are more important than the welfare of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Okay, next speaker is Micah Navarro.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can.
All right, great. Hello, my name is Micah Navarro. I'm a 9th grade student at Vacaville High School, and I was at the peaceful protests yesterday. It felt great to be on campus and see all my friends again. It was the first time since last March that school felt somewhat normal. And that's what we all need, some normality. We're also happy to be out there, and it was a great day. One of the coolest parts for me about yesterday was that I got to meet my math teacher, Miss Elliott, who was awesome. I love all my teachers, and we get so used to seeing and hearing them on screen that we don't even know who they really are or what they're actually like. I really do hope to meet all my teachers in class before the school year ends. And to be honest with you, this school year has been pretty useless. I know a lot of kids who have not learned pretty much anything. I hope that we have proved you that we can wear masks, be responsible, and do our work at school. And no matter what our grades say, this has not been a successful school year at all. It's been 11 months, so please start prioritizing us. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah.
Okay, next speaker, I have Gregory Louie.
Could you spell that last name for me? I don't see that.
Louie. He had his hand up initially, but now I'm not seeing it. So maybe he's.
I don't have him.
I don't see him. Okay. Then the next person would be Kristen Navarro.
Hey there. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. At this time,
I just want to point out that I think I would bet most kids in the district would be okay having substitute teachers the rest of the year if it meant being back on campus. And to the teachers who still think the VTA is looking out for you, the opposite is actually happening. By not returning to the classroom, you are making yourselves replaceable. Biden, Fauci, and Newsom want the kids back in school, and never at any point in time did they say part-time. They want the kids back. We want the kids back. The students want to be back. And most importantly, they deserve to be back in an environment that they thrive in. And it is possible right now. We have local schools that are proving it is possible. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Navarro.
Okay, next speaker is Tracy Stacy.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Jane. I want to just bring a different perspective tonight. I've stated wait a bit, but today is a really cool day because as of today, as you've heard, we have met the threshold, Governor Newsom's threshold, for K-6 to return to in-person learning. And in speaking to Dr. Matthias, he did confirm that the Newsom's order does not actually limit us to part-time. But I want to say to the community and to this board that the administration worked incredibly hard to solve incredibly difficult problems. And the MOU that was in place, the safety plan that was in place, that's just been tweaked for now, that work deserves to be honored. And that MOU needs to be implemented. And I think it's important for the community to understand that we don't know when red is even feasible. People keep talking about red, and I don't want this board to use that as a marker because we are at 100 cases. Today was day 5 of 100 new cases a day, which makes us eligible to move forward. We can't move forward in red as a county until we have met 30 or less new cases per day. We have no idea when that will happen. And the current MOU on file states that we can't put new students on campus until we're in the red tier. So I believe it is, you are beholden to immediately, even if you're negotiating anything and everything else, that you find it a way to negotiate that COG, because that is the only thing standing in the way of getting K-6 back on campus at 50%. And I think it's important that people understand that you as a board have the opportunity, the legal authority to impose on the union based on contract and things, when you need to tell people transparently when you can and can't, but there are circumstances when you can impose because you've done the work to meet the safety requirements. There's a contract on file, there's an MOU on file. And so you do have the responsibility as a board to not let the union hold you hostage because you're the 7 individuals that are representing 12,000 students and their parents. And we missed the boat. We should have imposed in January because we would have beat the surge and had kids on campus right now. And I do need the community to understand that the district's hands have been tied because we weren't on campus and so we weren't classified as open. So they couldn't have had kids on to this point. But moving forward, you can. And I think that the most important, more importantly too, is that I've had dozens of teachers reach out to me. They're scared to tell you how they feel because of retribution from the union because they're ready to go. And I would be curious to see what the survey that the union just did to the teachers, what that looks like. I hope that you put pressure, or we can put pressure on the union as a community to be transparent about the results of that survey.
Tracy,
what?
Your time is expired.
I didn't even, can I just finish my thought since I couldn't see the time?
Yes, finish your thought.
I hope that all of you are on the calls. I know Mr. Kitsis is on the calls, but the facts matter and it's time. So please be transparent with what your legal capabilities are because we can make this happen.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, our next speaker is Stacy Gobb.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me speak tonight. Originally, my speech that I wrote out was completely different, but after hearing several callers, I am very emotional. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through this without crying. I want to share with you, my mother worked for the school district for 15 years, and I saw it all, what teachers go through as well as staff. And her biggest issue ever the whole 15 years working for the school district was the children who were happy every day to be at school, to see her, to see my mom, just a regular person working in the school, because some actually told her she was like a mom to them. She made them feel safe. She was there when they cried. She was there when their mom and dad couldn't be, or their family. She was there when I'm choked up, several times had to call CPS because of mental and physical abuse at home. My mother would see bruises, fat lips, broken bones. She would hear of kids being torn out of homes. I'm going to speak about my personal kids. I have a 4th grader and I have a freshman at Vaca High. I want to talk mostly about my 4th grader. My 4th grader is a very happy kid, plays sports. That's all been taken from him. School's been taken from him. He is petrified of this pandemic. He has not left the house since COVID started to go to a store because he cries. He thinks everyone walking around in masks looks like zombies and our world is going to end. He is now completely failing. He was offered a hub position at Cooper School, and because they require a mask with 6 students, he cried his brains out. I watched my kids sob for about 1,000,000th time this year.
Stacey,
Sob.
I'm sorry, Stacy, you're gonna have to finish up. Your time has expired. So take another, few seconds and finish, please. Thank you.
I just want to say that to me, it's not even about education anymore. That's thrown out the window. My kids aren't learning. It's about their mental health. And when I see other kids in our town in school because they are able to afford it, but yet we can't put our kids in private school because we can't afford it, we're not going to have any kids left, you guys. Their mental health is gone.
Yeah, thank you, Stacy.
Okay, our next speaker is Amy Poling.
Could you spell that for me, Teresa?
It's Poling. She had her hand raised, but now I don't see her. So I'll keep an eye out if she puts her hand back up. It looks like she's on. Let's try Sarah Neller. I think she's also not on.
She is here.
She is, okay.
She hasn't unmuted
Oh,
yet.
there it is. Okay, I see her.
Hi, it's me. I think everything I've wanted to say has been said. I just want to reiterate how important it is for our kiddos to get back to school. Mental health has really been affected in my family as well, working full time. I appreciate what you guys are trying to do for us today, and I really just hope that we're able to get back to school, not in August, but in the weeks to come. So I appreciate you guys today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next speaker is Danielle Shea. You have her on your list, Ken? I don't see her hand up anymore. It was up earlier.
I've got her. She's up.
Okay.
Danielle, are you there?
Please unmute. She's not unmuting, Mr. Kitzes.
Okay. Maybe we'll come back to her at the end.
Okay, let's go to Nicole Neff.
Hi, everyone. My daughter is in 7th grade at Jepson Middle School. She has special needs, and because of the pandemic, she has not been able to receive her therapy services, as well as her in-person learning. In her IEP, it states that she's supposed to have a non-public agency one-to-one in person all throughout the school day. And now that we're at home, she cannot learn via this modality. She has broken my laptop not once, but twice, costing over $500. The Chromebook that was given to us is not staying connected to the internet. with her disability. She has moderate to severe autism as well as intellectual disability, and she cannot attend this way. Her IEP has been violated. She's not receiving her education, and we're at the point now where we have to do what we need to do to help her. My husband also wants to say a word since he's right here because he's talking over me. Come here. She and all the rest of the special needs children especially need to have more than 2 hours a day, 2 days a week. That's what we're getting. It's certainly not enough. We need to have our kids resume, especially with her class size. It's a class size of 8. There is no reason why that they cannot resume in person to receive their therapies and their teacher's instruction. She cannot learn over the computer as well as many other students. So I speak on their behalf. My daughter does not have a voice. She has limited communication. So we are here to speak out for all of the special needs children. So please get them back to school, not in August, but by March 1st. I mean, that should happen. You guys had a whole year to figure it out.
Yeah, vaccines are happening now. The numbers are coming down, obviously, since we had the holiday spikes. Private schools are working with the proper PPE in social distancing.
It can be done in public schools if it's done in private.
It can be done. Yes, it's going to take some effort on everybody's parts, families, and the school districts and the teachers. Everybody's going to have to participate. So let's just get this done. It's going to be a group effort.
Time's up, Neff family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Majella Cullinan.
Hello.
Hi, Majella.
Hi. So some of you already know that I too am a parent of special needs. My daughter is severe autistic with complex medical needs and learning disabilities. Part of being on an IEP, they are intensely tested every 3 years for a triannual, psychoeducational, OT, speech. It's hours of testing. So my daughter just had hers, and she has regressed 2 years in comprehension. 2 years in less than a year. 1 year in instructional, and this is data that was taken from your district, your people, your experts. This is heartbreaking. I put her into a private reading program because for 9 years, my child read at a 2nd grade level. I put her into a private reading program because I knew she was dyslexic, and I finally found a program, and we got her up to 8th grade level with 90% comprehension. She is now at 6th grade. This is really sad. This is not just my kid, and my kid has not been able to access the Zoom. So I'm assuming you're not getting paid for her because she's not in school every day. She's just getting her services over the Zoom, and not even all her services. And most of the services aren't even reaching out to me. For our special need children, I mean, for all the children, it is heartbreaking to hear those kids tonight. I mean, they were so brave. Thank you, kids, if you're listening. It's heartbreaking to watch our kids regress. I don't know if we can ever get them back. For parents of special needs, when our kids achieve something, it takes a long time. And it's amazing for us. It's something as simple as tying a shoelace. But when they lose that, it takes an awful long time to get it back again. And our kids on special needs, of the parents that I know that are mild to severe and whatever, none of the kids can access. None of them are learning. Now mine's a high school level. And we're going to hope eventually we're going to put them in, like that they have some kind of independence. It's not happening. It's not going to happen.
Your time's expired. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
Okay, Ken, this person had their hand up earlier, but I don't see her now. Diane Chalk.
I don't either.
Okay. Then the next person would be Natalia Serrato.
Natalia, you there?
Good evening, school board. Do the right thing. Please continue to keep our schools closed. If school opens at this time, more students and more teachers will die. This is a life or death matter. Currently, only individuals 65 and older and healthcare workers are being vaccinated. Herd immunity takes time. Getting back in campus in the name of getting back into normalcy is not rational or reasonable at this time. I'm a lifelong student and learner. My family's health and survival depend on access to healthcare and education. Our health is in jeopardy if our schools reopen. My baby's brother's lives are not worth playing with. My niece deserves to enjoy middle school to the fullest extent, but we are in a global pandemic. In order for her and all Vacaville Unified School District students to get to and through high school alive and well, let's keep the schools closed, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Serrato.
Okay, Mr. Kitsis, that's all we have with the exception of the folks that had their hands up. So one last call for either Amy Poling, Danielle Shea, and Diane Chalk. I don't see them.
Okay, so I
And
would,
that should be everyone.
what's that?
That should be everybody then.
Okay, I'd like to really thank everyone that's taken the time to speak to us today. We listen and we're listening. Teresa and Ken, thank you very much for skillfully moving us through all those people on Zoom. And what I want to do is take a 5-minute break before we resume the meeting. So it is now 7:34. Let's start at 7:40. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Teresa. Teresa, do you know what that beeping sound is that we're kind of hearing? Is that?
I think it's one of the board members. There's something beeping in the background. I've heard it before.
Okay, I'll ask Michael.
Periodically, I hear it.
Yes. I just had somebody say, your mic's on. I said, I know.
Okay. We are back. Note to self, 5 minutes isn't enough for a break. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to start, we're going to switch number 12 and 13, Jane's superintendent's comments and correspondence, very short, and some kids are waiting on it, so we're just going to do that first. Jane?
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. I know some students were waiting to hear who won the kindness essay contest. As you know, we had a kindness essay contest for all grades, and the winners were split into K3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. We had 124 essay submissions with some amazing and heartwarming stories from our students across the district. We narrowed down the submissions to 5 for each category, and our Board of Education voted for the top 3 winners. The prize for these winners in each grade area is an invitation to cook with the VUSD child nutrition chef, Richie Willem. This group of winners will learn how to make a gourmet meal and eat it too. And the event for this, we haven't decided a date for it yet, the time for this event, because we have to wait until COVID guidelines allow. So we had 3 in each grade category except for 9 through 12. So I'm going to start with the 9 through 12, one winner. Her name is Caitlin Gonzalez from Vacaville High School. Congratulations, Caitlin, if you're watching. Okay, let's go to K through 3. K through 3, the essay was, what do you want in a good friend? And there were 3 winners there. Dominic Rodriguez from Cooper Elementary School. Audrey, I hope I say this name, Echevarria, Cooper Elementary School. And Jaden Kelly, Cooper Elementary School. Wow, all 3 at Cooper. Good job, students and Cooper. Grades 4 and 5, the question was, who is the kindest person you know? 3 winners there, Liliana or Lily Parker from Sierra Vista K8, Aiden Snook from Browns Valley Elementary School, and Hayden Swain from Cooper Elementary School. Looks like Cooper's the winners tonight. Good job, students. And last but not least, grades 6 through 8. How do you show kindness? The 3 winners are Caitlin Dystra from Jepson Middle School, Aria Maida from Sierra Vista K8, and Kendra Brown from Jepson Middle School. Great job. Those are the winners. Our Director of Communications, Elaine Kong, will be in touch with you as we get out of COVID and we get to a place where we can have you come and cook with our amazing new chef. And the only other update I have is at the last board meeting, I introduced Lauren Cron, our new child nutrition supervisor, and she was unable to speak. Something happened with her mic, and I think she has her voice tonight. So I'm going to very quickly give you a little background on Lauren in case you forgot from the last board meeting. She's coming back home to Vacaville where she was raised. Lauren left her hometown to pursue her bachelor's degree in nutrition and food science from California State University, Chico, right, Lauren?
Chico, yeah, twice.
The writing fell off on my document. So she also, in addition to her bachelor's, earned a master's in nutrition education and didactic program dietetics. In addition to the degree she's earned, she's also licensed as a registered dietitian nutritionist. And during the interview process, I think one of the things that really impressed the group was her excitement and passion for working in public education. She's worked for other organizations, but she really realized how much she wanted to be in the child nutrition field for public education. So we're so happy to have you and welcome. And now the board would love to hear a few words from you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Yes, it truly is a blessing to be returning back home, so to speak, to be working in the community I grew up in and everything. And child nutrition was a pursuit that I've had for over a decade now. So it really is a dream come true. I feel like I'm finally home, and just finishing up my third week. So I have been blessed with a wonderful team, and I'm really happy to be on board.
Thank you, Lauren. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, President Kitsis, for allowing me to go ahead of our amazing school report. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Yes, it was very difficult, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Lauren.
Okay, next we have school reports and presentations, Fairmont Elementary School report and student volunteer recognition. Greg Moffitt, the principal, will share his own screen. Greg?
Thank you, President Kitsis and members of the board and Superintendent Shamia and members of the community. I am sharing my screen and hope that it works. We love it when technology cooperates. So here we go. It is an honor to present our biannual school presentation to the Vacaville Unified School District Board of Trustees. So take a look and listen, and afterwards I will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Shamia and cabinet, and members of the community, thank you for the opportunity to talk about Fairmont Charter Elementary School here in the Vacaville Unified School District. My name is Greg Moffitt, and it is an honor to serve the students, staff, and families as the principal at Fairmont Charter. We are so proud of our students and our programs, and we are so appreciative of the partnerships we have with our families and the community. Because at Fairmont, we really do believe that together we soar. Each morning, we remind ourselves what it means to be a Fairmont Falcon by saying the Falcon Pledge together and promising to work hard, show respect, and take pride in what we do and who we are. So instead of telling you what I think it means to be a Fairmont Falcon, here are some of our Fairmont staff talking about why they work at Fairmont. This is Mrs. King. She is our school counselor at Fairmont, and Fairmont is so lucky to have her. We are one of the few elementary schools in the area with a full-time counselor, and Mrs. King helps any student or family that needs support. She teaches classroom lessons, and here is what she has to say about working at Fairmont.
Hi everyone, my name is Yadi and I am the school counselor at Fairmont. The reason that I love working for Fairmont is because we're guided by the same hope, and that is to encourage, empower, and genuinely care for each other so that our kids and our grown-ups feel they can accomplish anything they set out to accomplish. I love our family atmosphere, and I love that we can work together to promote education in a way that kids find helpful and fun and engaging. And I so very much appreciate every single person that I work with, because I know that we're all heading in the right direction and that we want the very best for all of our families.
This is Mrs. Hall. She's our school secretary, and she's one of the first people you'll see at Fairmont, and she's pretty awesome.
Hi, my name is Constance Gonzalez Hall, and I'm one of the administrative support staff in the office at Fairmont Charter Elementary School in Vacaville. I'm a Fairmont Falcon because in a world where you might not always feel welcomed, encouraged, and safe, I know at Fairmont, I always do.
This is Lisa Holdener, one of our first grade teachers and our Teacher of the Year at Fairmont this year. She utilizes technology to help students learn and is determined to help her students create a community of kindness.
Hi, my name is Lisa Holdener, and I am a first grade teacher at Fairmont Charter. I love working at Fairmont because we not only teach students to take pride in their work and always try their best, but we also focus on the importance of having good character. And most importantly, we teach them to love themselves and appreciate all of the wonderful things that they have to offer our world.
Michelle Jimenez is one of our fourth grade teachers at Fairmont. She also uses lots of technology and helps her students learn really important critical thinking skills.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jimenez. I am a fourth grade teacher here at Fairmont, and I am a Fairmont Falcon because I love learning. Every day I get to participate in the joy and wonder of learning new things with my students. I love those aha moments that they have when a student learns a new concept. And I especially love what my Fairmont family and my Fairmont students teach me about perseverance, empathy, hard work, and kindness each and every day.
This is Shannon Nielsen, and she's one of our intervention teachers. We have a team of teachers and staff members at Fairmont that help students and give them the support they need. In fact, each day we have what I need time built into our schedule. If students need extra help, they get it. If students need an extra challenge, they get that too.
Hi, my name is Shannon Nielsen. I'm an intervention teacher at Fairmont, and I am a Fairmont Falcon because Fairmont is a great place to be. And I love working at Fairmont because we have so much support at our school and everybody works together to help kids be successful.
We are also fortunate to have an assistant principal at Fairmont. Mrs. Adams goes above and beyond to support students, their families, and our staff. She's been a teacher and intervention coordinator in Vacaville for over 20 years. Let's hear why she decided to come work at Fairmont.
Hi there, my name is Joanna Adams, and I'm the assistant principal here at Fairmont. Why I'm a Fairmont Falcon is because we are family. We encourage and support one another. Fairmont is a place where teamwork makes the dream work.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We are a team and a family at Fairmont. We are a community committed to learning together, and we want our students to see themselves as readers and writers, mathematical problem solvers, and as scientists too. But don't take our word for it. Let's hear why some of our students enjoy being Fairmont Falcons.
I am a Fairmont Falcon because I'm kind, smart, respectful, and responsible.
Thanks, Ross. He is one of our sixth grade students. Let's hear from Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm a sixth grader at Fairmont Charter School, and I've been going to Fairmont since fourth grade. I really like going to school because all the teachers and all the students are very kind, and it's just fun to go to the school. And because I don't have to be scared to be myself at all. I can just be who I am, and I don't have to be like worried that people will think rude things of me.
Thanks, Sophia. That's awesome. We want students to be who they are and to believe in themselves. Our mission at Fairmont is to partner with families and community members to prepare our students to be compassionate, thoughtful, creative, and responsible citizens of a global society in the 21st century. We want our students to be future ready. We do that at Fairmont by focusing on STEAM education. That means we're focused on science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, and making sure students see the connections in each lesson. We want our students to explore science and to be engaged in their learning. So let's talk about what science looks like at Fairmont. There is time each week in our schedule for science, where students get to experiment and learn about the world around them. There's also a monthly science switch, where we switch things up and focus on science for the entire day. Students in the upper grades switch classrooms to experience different lessons and experiments. And our primary grade students switch activities. There are science challenges and engineering challenges for our littlest learners, to our biggest learners, and they often require teamwork and collaboration. Each month, we sponsor Super STEAM Saturdays and invite students to spend the morning with us, getting more opportunities to experience and explore science. We have a STEAM fair where students showcase their learning and families come visit. And we have a STEAM day where students work with students in other grades to solve problems and experience more science. It's one of Sophia's favorite days of the year. Let's hear why.
My favorite things that we do at Fairmont are STEAM days. It's like a day where instead of doing classwork, we do activities like science activities. Like there's regular ones where you do it with other classes that are in the same grade, and then there's the one at the end of the year where the whole school does it. And that one at the end of the school year is my favorite one because we were able to make oobleck, we were able to do like challenges, and then some people would dissect squids, and we could make cookies. It was just really, really fun. And that's why I really like Fairmont. And there's a bunch of other things that you can do, and it's just, school's wonderful.
Thanks, Sophia. We agree. And as Sophia said, there's so much to do at Fairmont. We even have after-school science and technology clubs like our robotics team. And we've figured out ways to make science a focus during virtual learning too, using lots of online programs like Brain Pop and Mystery Science to show videos and demonstrations and ask students to think about the world around them. We've taken students on virtual field trips and even sponsored a virtual STEAM day by showing students science experiments that they can do at home. Virtual learning has given us a chance to do a lot of different things to engage students. Students performed in a virtual musical and participated in a virtual drama club. We have a virtual robotics and coding club and a virtual Girls on the Run fitness club. We've sponsored a virtual talent show and family game nights. We've hosted a family readathon with authors, singers, and community members reading. We've had virtual spirit weeks and a bunch of drive-through events to see and celebrate our students. Right now, all 585 students and our 70-plus staff members are participating in a one school, one book read aloud of the one and only Ivan. We're recording videos and sharing them with families and holding virtual events to discuss and celebrate the book. Our students, their families, and their teachers are working hard during virtual learning, and we're keeping close track of student progress because data informs what we do. Before COVID, state test data showed that we had work to do. The majority of our students were not meeting or exceeding standards on these state tests. We were making progress last fall as measured by our district benchmark scores, especially in the primary and intermediate grades. And then, well, COVID happened. Our benchmark scores from this fall show that we're doing better than where we were in the spring of 2019 on state tests, but there is still work to be done. And that work involves looking at every student's scores and understanding their story and figuring out how to help them grow. This is a screenshot of the scores of one of our fourth grade English learners. He was below benchmark at the start of the year and is now meeting it. And that's in large part to our team at Fairmont, and of course, his hard work and the hard work of his family. Fairmont has always had a team of intervention teachers and paraeducators, and during COVID, they've continued to provide interventions. Because of the staffing that we have, we've been able to provide double the targeted support in our kindergarten, first and second grade classes, and also to provide additional math intervention in sixth grade. In addition, our school counselor provides weekly social emotional learning lessons in classrooms and supports families in whatever way she can. This is a photo of her delivering food to families in need over the weekend. We also have a family check-in form so that families can let us know how things are going and how we can help. Most importantly, we continue to celebrate our students and their success. Before COVID, we'd give out falcon feathers when students were demonstrating safety, respect, or responsibility. We'd hold weekly raffles, school spirit days, monthly assemblies, where students would get recognized for their hard work and get a chance to win prizes like pieing the principal in the face or getting to ride to school with a police officer and bringing donuts for their class. We'd make positive phone calls home to students and to staff, and we still do. We have found ways to recognize students on our virtual morning announcements. We remind our students every morning that we want them to use their wings to make the world a better place. We are Falcons, after all. And WINGS is an acronym that reminds us to work hard, include others, never give up, go make a difference, and show kindness. You can watch our morning announcements on our YouTube channel or stay connected with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or read about what we're doing in the Falcon Flash, our weekly family newsletter. When we gather as a group at Fairmont, we often turn to this quote by Rita Pearson because it sums up what we believe in so perfectly. Rita was a teacher, and this is what she said. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. We think every child deserves a champion. In fact, we think they deserve a school full of champions, and we hope to be a champion for each of our students. Because as our motto reminds us, together we soar.
Thank
Okay,
you,
Mr.
President,
Moffitt, do
members.
you want to see if anybody has any questions before we go into the Student of the Year presentation?
I would be happy to answer any questions, President Kitsis. Sounds like a good plan.
Okay, do any of the school board members have any questions or comments for Mr. Moffitt?
Hi, this is Kelly Welsh. How are you? Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Moffitt. I'm sorry, I'm putting some kids to bed right now, so if you hear some background chaos going on, I apologize for that. But I just want to say thank you for the presentation. It's great to get to know your staff, and I love that Fairmont has a full-time counselor there, and I really appreciate the presentation being in Spanish as well. That's great. And to learn about your STEAM days and the science activities that students are doing is wonderful. I just have two questions, and I'm looking forward to visiting the school and meeting you in person. Two questions were, one, why do you think some of the students are doing better on state tests right now than they were the previous year? And the other question is, my students are in elementary school and they attend Browns Valley Elementary, and my son also attended Markham for a while. But I just want to get an understanding of how Fairmont's charter is different and how it differs from the other elementary schools.
Thanks, Trustee Welsh. I appreciate the comments and the questions. So first, why are some of our students doing better on our tests than they did last year? I think one of the things that we realized pretty quickly during the pandemic that everyone was experiencing this pandemic differently. They were going through this experience in a different way. And so some students have really soared during virtual learning. They are at home with family members where they feel safe and supported, and they have been able to make it work for them. In addition, a lot of our students are coming to our What I Need Time sessions during the day and in the afternoon, and they're taking advantage of the help that the teachers are offering. And so I think they're doing better because they're working really hard, and so are their families, and so are our teachers. And then there are some students that are struggling, and so we're really looking at each and what we can do for them as well. In terms of the second question, what makes Fairmont Charter different than the other schools in Vacaville? Well, we are a district-run school, and we are very proud to be part of the Vacaville Unified School District. The charter that we have sets us apart in terms of our focus really on STEAM, and then also social emotional learning. In reality, all the schools in the Vacaville Unified School District have site-based leadership, where site councils come together and they get to make decisions about how they focus and what they do. We are able to serve as a charter so that students from surrounding neighborhoods and surrounding communities can come and be a part of the Vacaville Unified School District, and that our staff and parents have a voice really in what the focus of our charter is. And this is actually the year that our charter is up for renewal. So you'll get to hear a little bit more from me later in the year as we go through that process.
Thank you. I very much appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Greg, thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. And we will wait with bated breath for your Fairmont Students of the Year presentation.
Fantastic. Now, this is the best part of the evening when we get to celebrate students. So I am excited to hit the play button and show you these incredible Fairmont Falcons.
Greg, would you please reshare your screen?
I will reshare my screen. Thank you. We've only been doing this for 10 months. You'd think I would know how to share my screen by now. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and I'm going to go back to the beginning. Thanks for the technical difficulties.
It is with great excitement that we announce our Students of the Year at Fairmont Charter Elementary School in the Vacaville Unified School District. In the fall, we got an email from David Rogers with Starbound Theater asking if we wanted to partner with them and put together a virtual musical to celebrate National Arts in Education Week. And so began a wonderful online adventure in staging a musical all over Zoom. I am joined by the awesome cast of Super Happy Awesome News. You all are amazing. That musical was so much fun to watch. Raise your hand if that was your first musical. You were awesome. Okay, raise your hand if you were a little nervous performing. Yeah, I don't think I could have sung in a Zoom room and be recorded like that. That took a lot of bravery. Raise your hand if you had a lot of fun. It was so much fun to watch. And I wanted to stand up and give you like a standing ovation when it was done. It was so cool. I'd love to hear from you, your name and your grade and what you liked most about doing the musical. So I'm gonna call on folks. So Marcel, let's start with you. What can you say your name and your grade and what you liked about the musical?
Hey, my name is Marcel. I am in 6th grade and I just love the whole music part about the musical.
Rock on. Guadalupe, hey, nice to see you. Will you introduce yourself?
My name is Guadalupe. I'm in 4th grade. And my favorite part, the whole music part too.
The music was so good. Freya, I see you next. Hey, will you introduce yourself?
My name is Freya. I'm in 2nd grade, and my favorite part about the music was the whole thing.
It was pretty cool how it all came together. Mariana, hi, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mariana. I'm in 5th grade, and I loved that I got to spend time with some of my classmates, and I got to learn some more about some of my friends, and I loved hanging out.
It was so much fun to hang out and get to see folks. Even though we can't be in person, you can still hang out over Zoom. It's so cool. Hi, Ziamar, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Ziamar, and I'm in 2nd grade.
What did you like about the musical?
It was lots of fun.
It certainly was. Hey, Landon, you're up next. Will you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Landon and I'm in 5th grade, and I like my favorite thing about the musical was the acting, about how you had to act it out.
You definitely had to take on some interesting roles. and play the part. You did an awesome job. Hey, Hanada, will you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Hinata. I'm in 4th grade, and my favorite part about the musical was the fact that my friends and family was able to watch it.
It was so cool. I mean, sometimes you can't always see the musical in person, right? But we could show everyone on YouTube. That was so cool. Hey, Michaela, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm in 4th grade. What I liked about this is that
I love that you're thinking.
Is that I loved it because I just love music, and I love seeing everyone that I know on Zoom.
Those are good things to love. Thank you for being part of it. And hey, Mr. Aiden, how are you? Will you introduce yourself?
I'm 5th grade, and the thing I liked most about the musical is that I've always been a voice actor, so it was.
I think I caught some of that. It went in and out. But Aiden, I am so glad that you were part of the cast. Someone that brought us all together and helped us was director David. Hey, Mr. David. He's from Starbound Theater, and without him, we wouldn't have had a musical. So, Mr. David, why is doing something like this so important?
Well, I think that we were able to demonstrate that we could still make a connection with each other and others, even in a virtual format. The students got to learn a different aspect of teamwork because they had to work together to create this beautiful story, right? And some of them had to cover for each other and do, multiple roles and, and just kind of help where we needed. So it was good. And then to discover your maybe hidden creative talents, like Landon's singing voice and Marcel's like multiple different characters he had to create. So we got to see all of these talents just come to bloom into this performance. And, I got to see a lot of confidence building, especially from students like Michaela, who was a little nervous and anxious to be on screen, but she overcame her fears. And I still see even more and more she's building the confidence and other students as well. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So it was great. It was a great opportunity to connect with students and to, create a story. Because that's the beauty of theater is we're telling stories.
Sometimes folks think of Fairmont as the science school, right? We do lots of science and technology, but we're also an engineering, art, and math school, right? And the arts are so important to what we do. They're so important to science, right? Because you can do the science and you can figure it out and you can understand it, but if you can't communicate it and share it with the world, if you can't present it, if you can't talk about it, well, then it's just a bunch of facts, right? So getting up on stage, acting it out, performing, that can give you the confidence to go and communicate and talk about the world around you and help people understand. So bravo to all of you. You are awesome. So here's the surprise. Are you ready for it? Okay.
Yes.
So every other year, elementary schools get to go to the Board of Education. That's the group of old people in town who get elected to make decisions about our school. And we get to go to them and talk about our awesome students and give those students an award. And so we are recognizing the entire cast of Super Happy Awesome News with an award at the school board. Congratulations, you are all our Students of the Year at Fairmont. Woohoo! We are so amazed by you and how hard you are working and how brave you are. You really showed what it is to be a Fairmont Falcon. Congratulations. We are proud of you. and we will send you your award in the mail or have you come on by and pick it up. We are so proud of you. It truly was an incredible production, and you can still watch it on YouTube by going to the Starbound Theater YouTube channel. So on behalf of all of us at Fairmont Charter Elementary School, we want to congratulate the cast of Super Happy Awesome News for being named our Students of the Year. Congratulations to Landon, Mariana, Hinata, Freya, Guadalupe, Ziamar, Marcel, Aiden, and Michaela. You make us Falcon proud.
Yay.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moffett. That was really interesting, and I think we'll have to look up the YouTube channel from the Starbound Theater and check it out.
I can send it your way, President Kitsis. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. If there are no other comments, then we will go to board member comments and correspondence now. Are there any board members that have anything to say? I do, but doesn't anybody? There we go. Hey, Cecil.
Hey, I just wanted to real quick, and I hope they got the names correct. I want to thank Alyssa, Kyle, Tyler, Nadia, Haley, and Micah for speaking tonight at the board meeting. Yesterday at Vacaville High School, when I went out to their event, talking to the students, a couple of them asked me what I could do for them. And I kind of turned the tables on them and said, you know, we've heard from your parents, but your parents had their high school experiences. This is about your education. This is about your sports and extracurricular activities. And this is about your future. We need to hear from you. And I don't know if that's what happened tonight, but I'm so glad those young people took the time to let us know how they're feeling and how they're doing through this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil. Kelly.
Hi, I just wanted to update you all on some of the activities that I've been doing since our last board meeting. I've been on 3 school site visits to Ernest Kimmy Academy, Kimmy Rap, and the Adult Education Center. I just want to thank Jane and the principals, Lois Chancellor, Amy Blackstone, and Tiffany Donahue for showing me around and answering questions. I think you're all doing a fabulous job. I also attended the Vaca High peaceful protest yesterday, and I talked to parents and students, and that was really helpful for me to get out there and see and talk to the parents and students. I have received mass correspondence and emails from concerned parents, and I just want to say that I am one of you. I understand your frustrations and concerns. My 7-year-old in 1st grade, he's missing out on so much. He's just so excited to be able to go to the cafeteria when we open, and he's been missing out on the little moments in his life just to be with his pals. And this is the socialization factor that I really do know that kids are missing out on. You know, he just wants to order a sandwich and be a cool kid in the cafeteria. And I empathize with all of you, and especially our seniors looking forward to sports and the fun season of prom and graduation. I totally get the agony. You know, I myself am a full-time working single mother with 2 kids, and it's impossible to work and help them with school at the same time. But I'm grateful to the teachers we have and their dedication to our students during this struggle. But I just want to let parents know that we have a plan that will be outlined to you later in tonight's agenda. And thankfully today we hit the less than 25 per 100,000 cases in the county. So we can start on our plans to open up. But it's important to continue to exercise as many safety precautions as we can. There are many people who will not return to our schools without full vaccination coverage because they have vulnerable families at home. But our district has worked very, very hard on the school reopening plans, and there will still be options for distance learning if needed. And so I just want you all to know that we are listening and understand your anger and frustration completely. Just another 2 quick things. I serve on the Solano County School Boards Association, and I attended that meeting. We are planning a great event called Promoting Student Achievement Through Local Policy with an Equity Lens. The Solano County elected officials and community partners will have a series of engaging interactive workshops that will focus on how our policies influence student achievement, and I'm excited to be a part of that. And just finally, I signed on to a letter to call on Congress to take immediate action on comprehensive coronavirus relief legislation, including desperately needed funding for schools. So yeah, I just wanted to give that quick update, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else? Daniel.
I want to say, first of all, thank you to all the families that called in and told us how they feel. Thank you, Cecil, for thanking the students. I had a tally of how many we had there. I was really impressed with them. I want to say I am a parent too, and I get it. I feel it too. I have one kid who is doing okay with distance learning, one who was a horrible, horrible failure with the distance learning. And it's difficult. It's hard because we want to keep them safe, but we want to keep them educated. The hardest part for me is the fact that we've had to be reactionary the entire time because new information kept changing. We'd make a plan based on current information, then they change the rules. First, we're ready to come in red, then since purple, schools that were open already can stay open, but for some reason, we couldn't bring new schools in. Then in January, now it's okay to open in purple again. They changed the rules on us again. It makes it so difficult for us to make and implement plans. And I've been pushing, and I want us all to be very proactive. We want to be proactive in making sure that we are ready when we do open to hit the ground running. We want to make sure that we are ready to address the learning gap that has developed. And I've seen it in my own kids, along with the other people who have seen it. And I think that, you know, working together, we are going to be able to get kids back in school, get everybody learning the way they're supposed to, and we're going to be able to do it safe for all students and staff. So thank you all for your time for coming in and talking to us.
Anybody else? So I would like to take you, hopefully on a reasonably short journey here. As Mr. Moffett said, I'm one of the old people on the school board. And, I want people to understand that it is very, very difficult to be on the school board right now. Not to feel sorry for me or anybody else. It's just true. I like other people, I'm a parent. I have an 11th grade son. It is incredibly depressing to be out of school. He's suffering, and his friends are suffering, and we see it every day. And and what I want to say is that in the fall, I said, and I'm just speaking for myself here, and I know there were others, but I'm speaking for myself, that I was going to follow the science the best I could because I'm not a scientist. I have a reasonably, good way of looking at things when they're given to me, but I'm not a scientist. And at the time that we made the MOU with VTA and SEIU, I believe that we followed the science, and we took a stand to make sure, because there was so little information, to protect our employees. And it was a very painful decision, and we've suffered really through it. And now there's different science. I mean, and I think it's just as incumbent to me. I was running for re-election then. I knew I was taking a big gamble in a way by saying, no, we're not going to go back right now, but I didn't care, and I don't care now. It's like, we all have to do what we can to do what we think is the right thing. And CDPH, which is the California Department of Public Health, who are the public health experts, and CDC, but CDPH has been very clear that we can bring kids back TK through 6 when it goes down to 25 per 100,000. And we're at that point now. And I think we just have to take a deep breath just for a short time. I know it's hard. Parents want to get kids back yesterday. And we are going back to talk to the teachers and have a discussion with them. And, they also said at the time that they wanted to follow the science. So we have to find out where they're at. And so I know people say, let's impose everything right now, let's do everything right now. We have to talk to them this week and go from there. And just know, though, that we understand that I understand that the science is saying 25 per 100,000, you can bring back TK through 6, and there's been very little transmission at schools, that the schools have been safer than actually the communities. And I think we owe it to our kids to really pay attention to that, because they are suffering. At least a lot of them are really suffering a lot. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you. And anybody feel free to contact any one of us. We're your school board representatives, and we're here. Okay. Next, we have student board member representatives. And Francis, are you there from Buckingham? Ken, is Francis there?
He's coming in now.
Okay. Hi, Francis.
Hi,
Sorry, she.
can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here to share my report with you all this evening. During the past couple of weeks, our leadership students at Buckingham have been working hard and staying busy to continue doing our best to continue to connect with our student body and community as a whole. When I shared my last report, we were in the middle of observing Kindness Week. Leadership's 4 committees and advisors put together short videos to post throughout the week, videos that aim to encourage students to be kind to others as well as themselves. Some students gave us feedback on the videos and shared that they were personally impacted by them. A lot of students have felt so disconnected from everything this year, so it was very encouraging to hear from a few of them that using technology and social media to spread positivity, we were able to reach them and show them our support. One more thing I mentioned previously was our upcoming virtual club rush. The event was a success, and many new students made an appearance to find out a little more about the clubs Buckingham has to offer to connect students and give them a place to come together. Clubs have already begun meeting on Zoom this week, and it's great to see people excited to join them and meet some new students that share the same passions and interests as them. Sir Optimist Club has had their first meeting today, and its members are looking forward to an exciting project that is looking into community outreach. Meanwhile, our academic decathlon recently finished an online objective test of all the subjects: math, social studies, science, music, art, literature, and economics. Students essentially assigned themselves their own homework, and they had been working hard to study since October. The test was on Saturday the 6th, and 5 of our brilliant Acadeca members went on campus to take the test on Chromebooks, wearing masks and staying spread apart. They also finished interviews and speeches last week and were presented and judged on an online platform. With no more events taking place, they are now waiting on an award ceremony virtually, where they will receive medals based on who did the best in each category after competing against students from schools all over the district. In more recent news, this week has been Spirit Week at Buckingham, and with Valentine's Day coming up, naturally our themes are about sharing love. On Monday, students showed love for their favorite teams and wore jerseys to post on social media. Tuesday's theme was to show love for friends, aka Twin Day. On Wednesday, students showed love for their pets and posted their favorite photos of their animals. Today, the theme was to share something you love. So students posted pictures of something that brings them joy, things that they're passionate about, and hobbies, things like that. And finally, tomorrow's theme is, of course, to share love for Buckingham and post our night pride. During the last few weeks, leadership has been hosting night social hour events to give students an opportunity to hang out with their friends and other peers via Zoom. Ending this week, we will be hosting another event tomorrow, and it will primarily be to give students a place to socialize and have some time together before we take the next week off. And for my last update, Leadership's Outreach Committee has been super excited this week at the launch of Valentine Graham sales. Students are looking forward to purchasing cute packages for friends and other loved ones that contain baby succulents and several other Valentine's Day themed goodies. They are already looking forward to getting back to school after break to start distributing the packages and sending everyone these precious little boxes of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Next, we have a rookie from Vacaville High School, Josh Metcalf, filling in. Josh, you there?
He's coming in now.
Hi, Josh.
All right, thank you. Vaca High School has a functional academics class, which is a class of 10 to 15 of Vaca High's most significant special ed students. They will be returned to campus full-time after President's Week break on February 22nd. Of course, practicing social distancing guidelines. On Friday, February 12th, Student Council will be decorating the high school with balloons, posters, and confetti to give the students a warm welcome, the welcome that they deserve. And in regards to Black History Month, on February 1st, we posted a social media ad highlighting the meaning of Black History Month on all of Vacaville High School's social media platforms. On Vacai's homepage, the picture on it and the slides that roll through have been changed to Black History Month related banners. At our past drive-in on February 5th and the 6th, we showed Black Panther in relation to Black History Month, hoping that it would honor BHM. On February 20th, students can contribute their original writing performances, art, etc. to the NAACP in the city of Vacaville. This event is called Amplify Our Voices, and students that submit their Black history related pieces can be highlighted and recognized. That's all.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Diana Liu from Wilsey Wood High School.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can, Diana.
Okay, awesome. So, good evening, school board members. I hope you're having a phenomenal evening so far. Wilsey Wood is moving at a fast rate to provide the best for our students in the community. As you may have heard, Wilsey Wood faced some controversy concerning the tarps of the portraits of historical Black figures. I would like to say that Wilsey Wood is standing strong, and we are leaving up these tarps to not just honor these Black historical figures, but to demonstrate to our students that we will continue to fight for their representation, that our love and support for them is ever flowing in these times of difficulty and division. Wilsey Wood students are continuing to make more and more tarps to use for the many years to come. We have yet to have any winners for our Black History Month bingo, but it is speculated that we will have a winner around this week. Although the main focus at the moment is Black History Month, we've also been fundraising for our junior and senior class. We just completed our Milk Tea Lab fundraiser for the junior class that was held on February 1st to February 8th. The senior class is having a popcorn fundraiser that ends this Friday, where people can purchase any flavored popcorn of their choice. The link is on at Wilsey Wood Live Instagram account on the link tree for easy access. So far, both fundraisers have been successful, and it looks as though our juniors and seniors will be able to showcase events when time can come at an amazing capacity. As we have multiple events and things going on throughout this month, we are also having our baking competition on the 29th at 6 p.m. over Zoom, where students are attempting to replicate a cookie monster design. Although it's a simple design, baking and decorating is no easy task to take on. The winner will be determined by the creativity of what the design is replicated on and how it looks in comparison to the design. Alongside all of these events, Wilsey Wood ASB is working on creating children's books from long books that taught important lessons on leadership. These books will simplify and teach youth about the importance of leadership and how to develop strong skills as a leader. These books will be read to young students in their classes and passed around schools. That is all I have for you this evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my report, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you, Diana. And I would be remiss, Diana, if I didn't say that your teachers and administration and your superintendent and your board are glad that you stand strong, and we understand that you have a right to your expression, and we support you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move. Is there anyone from VTA or SCIU here to say an update, give an update? Okay, I don't think so. So we will move on to the COVID safety plan. And I will ask you, Teresa, is there anybody that has said they wanted to speak on this?
No, not so far.
Okay, so I'm going to give a moment to see if anybody wants to speak about this after Mrs. Forrest gives her report. Okay, no hands?
No, no hands.
Okay, Mrs. Forrest, you're up.
Okay, let me get this started. Just a minute, please. Can you see my screen?
You can.
Great. So good evening, Board President Kitsis and trustees and Superintendent Shamia. For those who don't know me, I am Kim Forrest and I hope to meet you soon. And I am pleased to be able to speak tonight about the COVID-19 safety plan. So I have an agenda for this presentation because the route I'm taking to get down to number 4, the COVID-19 safety plan, is not a straight path. So I'm going to begin by talking about some of the rules set forth by the state of California for schools to reopen. I'm then going to touch on Governor Newsom's Safe School Plan for All, and then talk about VUSD, Health and Wellness Plan, and then finally get to the COVID safety plan, and then end it with progressions or next step. So as you probably know, on December 30th, Governor Newsom announced a Safe School for All plan. And in that plan, he added regulations before schools were allowed to reopen for in-person instruction. And I'm going to review 3 factors of those regulations that are relevant to Vacaville Unified. So as the new directives came out from the state on December 30th, the rules for reopening again changed for California schools. I believe Trustee Santellan mentioned this, and it is very true. Previously, under the state rules, VUSD was considered open because our schools were providing in-person instruction to small groups of students, and those students are receiving in-person instruction for special ed services. And so through those previous rules, since we had students already on our campuses receiving in-person instruction, we could continue to bring back students in a phased-in approach for in-person instruction. But that new directive put a stop to that. So when we look at the question, was school previously reopened? The answer to that has a big impact on how we now can reopen for in-person instruction. If you were already opened by their new definition, it's a much easier route than opening by the new definition, which we're in. So the new definition for previously opened, as you see in the middle, is at least 1 grade level at the school for general instruction for at least part of the school week. I'm going to give an example for this for the previous and the new definitions. Let's take, for instance, Browns Valley. Browns Valley has a few classes of students receiving in-person instruction on campus. Before the new proposal came in place, VUSD and Browns Valley was considered to be opened, and they could progress in adding more students at any grade level to their school. With this change, no longer is Browns Valley considered to be an open school because they don't have a complete grade level attending a school, but the district is also not considered to be previously opened. So this question really does have a big impact. And was the school previously opened? Under the definition, the new definition by the governor's plan, the answer is no. So then we have to go to the next question. And this deals with current rules for school reopening for all of our grades, for TK through grade 12. And the question here is, has Solano County been in the red tier for 5 days? Again, you can see in the blue, the wording, the county must be in the red tier for 5 consecutive days before grades TK through 12 can reopen for instruction. So have we met that criteria? The answer is no. This next slide shows a different caveat that the state has, and this is school reopening for TK through 6. And this applies to Vacaville, even though we're a comprehensive TK through 12 school district. This gives us a way to open just in grades TK through 6 when we're still in the purple tier. The question associated with this is two-pronged. Has Solano County been in the purple tier with the county COVID-19 rate at less than 25 per 100,000 for 5 days? And does the district have an approved COVID-19 safety plan? And you can see the wording down there. And I think a couple of board members mentioned this. Trustee Welch and Board President Kitsis mentioned that that our rate now is at 21.6. So as of yesterday, we have met that threshold of less than 25 per 100,000, which is a really good thing, because before that, in all of January and up until yesterday, we did not meet that threshold. So that's great news that we have met that, and we have to continue to monitor that because it has to be for 5 consecutive days, but it's very, very likely that we will stay under that rate. But there's also this second component, and that is, does the district have an approved COVID-19 safety plan? So the assumption would be that having an approved safety plan would be a pretty straightforward and easy process, but it's not that straightforward and easy. So in response to the governor's plan that I mentioned previously on December 30th, after that, the California Department of Public Health released their updated school reopening guidance. And those new guidelines that were released by the California Department of Public Health identified 7 mitigation strategies: face coverings, stable groups, physical distancing, adequate ventilation, hand hygiene, symptom and close contact exposure responses, and screening testing. Now, I know most of you have already read our health and safety plan, and most of those components or parts of those mandates were already included in our existing health and wellness plan, but there were some areas that we needed to update. And just on a side note, the negotiations continue around the governor's proposals and the CDPH mandates. So they are not a set in stone, certain criteria moving forward yet. The governor has said he should have final approval by the legislation. He hopes by the end of this week, perhaps by tomorrow. So the assumption is we might have some changes, and just only time will tell. We'll see what those are. So another part of the Safe School for All plan was an oversight component, and that oversight component is the COVID-19 safety plan. So I'm going to start out with these slides to show you the components of the CPS plan, the CSP plan. I'm going to start out first with our health and wellness plan. This was first completed in mid-October of 2020. We continued to update it as further guidance would come out. And then on January 2021, that's when we received the school guidance from the CDPH. So from that, we reviewed our health and wellness plan and updated the plan. After the updates were made, we had consultation with the following stakeholders: with parent groups, and those were parents from all of our elementary schools, with our bargaining units and our community groups. So they were provided, the parent group was provided the complete plan. They read it through, we had a meeting together, and then they provided feedback. The feedback from the parent group was pretty consistent with what you heard tonight. Our HR personnel provided the plan with our bargaining units, and they provided feedback as well. And finally, the community group, it was suggested that the community group be organizations or groups that have an association with the school and its students. So the community group was composed of the boys, representatives from the Boys and Girls Club, from TGIF, and from Imagine That. And they reviewed the plan and also gave us input. Okay, now we get to the safety plan. So we have a very comprehensive health and wellness plan that has been updated and meets all the guidelines for the CDPH. If you look over on the right side of the screen, we have the COVID-19 safety plan. The COVID-19 safety plan is not this health and wellness plan. The COVID-19 safety plans are just these two documents. They're verification documents called the guidance checklist and the COVID-19 prevention program. So I'm going to give you a little more information about those two documents. The guidance checklist satisfies the requirements for safe reopening of school based on the CDPH guidance. So they're new guidelines for reopening schools. It's a simple checklist, short answer, and fill in the blank. The COVID-19 prevention program satisfies the requirements to provide a safe and healthy workplace for employees. So it's based on guidelines from Cal OSHA. I know both of these documents are attached to the agenda, and you may note that there are some red areas. So the wording in red is the extra wording, the extra precautions, the extra requirements that the district is taking in order to provide a safe and healthy workplace. The other part of the template was provided by the state, and it's the model form in which they use. So these two documents are the documents that make up the safety plan. Both of these documents were submitted for approval to Solano Public Health and the state school safety team. Both of these entities have to approve these two documents. So we're finally to next steps. So those documents were submitted to Solano Public Health and the Safe School team. These entities cannot approve the plan until after the rate falls below that 25% for 5 consecutive days. So hopefully by mid next week or the beginning of next week, they'll be able to approve those plans. We got them in early, hoping that as soon as we're have all the criteria met for approval, that we will be approved right away. They do have a 7-day window to approve, and during that time, they can send you notification of approval. They can send you notification that it wasn't approved. They can send notification with suggestions for approval, or they can do nothing. If they do nothing after the 7-day window expires, it is assumed to be approved. So after we receive that in 7 days, following that, the district can finalize decisions for in-person instruction for grades TK through 6. So that's all I have right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have some questions for Kim?
Okay.
Michael, if you don't mind.
Yes, John, go ahead.
So Kim, just to confirm, when did we turn in our plans to both the county and to the state school site safety plan?
We turned in the plan to the county. It was last Friday the 4th, last Friday, and then to the state, we turned them in this morning. So after we found out that we met that threshold.
Fantastic. So basically a week from today, if the state's team has no issues with our plan and the county has one more day to let us know if they have an issue, then by default, we meet the requirements?
It could be more than a week because we have to meet that 5 consecutive days. So after the 5 consecutive days of being below the 25% rate, then they can look at it. Then they have 7 days from that date.
Perfect. So the variable is 7 days after we meet the 5-day.
Yes.
So in rough numbers, 2 weeks or so potentially, if we can stay within those numbers.
Yes. Dr. M has said in previous meetings that he will approve it as soon as possible. So hopefully as soon as we meet that 5-day criteria, he will approve it. And then we'll just have to wait for the state. So.
Perfect. And thank you for your presentation. It's just straightforward and easy to follow. And I appreciate it.
Questions?
Yes, I just wanted to ask real quick, Kim.
You're next, Daniel.
TK to 6. Is that because they're classes that stay together all day long? Because I know we're going to get hit with questions about middle and high school.
It is because stable groups are easier to maintain in K6, and just because of the rate of infection is much lower.
Well, I agree with John too. Very nice presentation. Thank you.
Daniel.
So thank you, for the presentation. That was
You're welcome.
good. For the requirement of 5 consecutive days, so we've reached that effective today. So county is going to start reviewing it. If, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But if we go above the threshold, does that time frame start over again? Do we have to wait till we're down for another 5 consecutive days?
Yes. Yes. I think Superintendent Shamia can probably give you more information on that, or maybe Mr. Santapadre, but I think they're pretty confident that we will stay under that threshold for 5 days.
Me too.
Anybody else? So I just want to say it should come as no surprise to anybody that Kim was a kindergarten teacher by trade. Very clear, very, basically, I feel like a kindergartner, but great presentation, Kim, really. It's really good, very informative. And I will tell you that I was in a meeting with Dr. Machas today, and he said, we have met the threshold, it is done. And he said that he has already approved Fairfield's plan, and he was reviewing ours. And he answered in he said, I think it was Daniel actually that asked him that same question that he asked you about what if it goes back over?
Oh.
And he said, that is unclear. Is that right, Daniel? That's what I got from him.
Yeah, he said he hadn't gotten any clear answers or directions from the state on if it goes up, but his hope is that it wouldn't have to restart again. We should be able to go forward from that point.
I apologize. I think I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant within the 5 days. It's my understanding that if it goes back up, we can still continue to provide in-person instruction.
Well, I think the question is, what if we haven't started it and it goes above that?
Well, the main question is, if we waited the 5 days, now while the state's reviewing it, the numbers go back up. Do we have to start over again because they took too long to review it and our numbers didn't last?
Interesting.
So we have to ask Dr. Machas about that, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just wrote it down we'll forward a question. We'll forward it to him.
But I expect from what he said today that we will very quickly get the nod from him. And he said the same thing that you did, that 7 days after, if he hasn't done anything, then it's all automatically done, accepted. Okay. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have school sports activities update with Adam Rich, Adam White, and Ed Santapadre. Who's going to take the lead there?
I will get us started and then I will pass it on to our two principals. I believe Mr. Johnson's going to pull up our PowerPoint as I introduce this. So President Kitsis, board members, Superintendent Shamia, thank you so much for having us here tonight. And we are going to give you the update on athletics at the secondary level. Just a real quick background on this. High school sports are governed by the California Interscholastic Federation. And so that's the big big group. And then under that, each area or section has a governing board. And we're part of the Sac Joaquin section. And that's the group that we work with. And then even below that, we have a league, which is much smaller, which is really the schools from Fairfield and Vanden and our schools. And so we have a league and that's sort of the structure. And we have been doing some small group cohort since last summer. And we have been following all of the guidance as we get it. And really this was done as part of our board's recommendation to us to try and do as many things as we can safely and legally to just help kids get out of the house. So that's been our goal, and we're really excited to be able to do this next part of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Principal Rich and Principal White, and they will walk you through this.
All right, thanks, Ed. Good evening, everyone. Superintendent Shamiya, Board of Trustees, thank you for having us tonight. If you could go ahead and move to the first slide, Ken. We've been thinking a lot about sports as it fits into the bigger framework of how it helps our students. But going back to this, it's obviously a year like no other, and that goes with sports too. So our goal as a high school, as a league, really as a whole section, is just to try to have students have every opportunity to participate in high school sports. And really the section motto has been, a season of sport for every student. And that still holds true to what we're doing. Our hope with this presentation is to kind of show you how that's going to look in the different color tiers. But really, we've been working this year on providing a district framework, sort of coming up with some guidelines for safe return to play. We've been using the California Department of Public Health guidelines. We've been using our feedback from our own county and from the CIF. And it's been an evolving process. It seems like, just like with school reopening, this is not to make a bad pun, but they move the goalposts every week on us in terms of what we can do and what we can't. But why are we focused on this? We don't have students in person right now at school, except for a few different things, but why are we focusing on school sports right now? For those of us who have worked in high schools, we know how big of a motivator sports are for kids. It gets them, as Ed said, out of the house, on campus. They have to maintain a certain GPA. So it keeps them motivated academically. It's a good carrot for many of our kids. It keeps kids engaged and involved with their school. It gives them that sense of school pride and identity. It's also a big player in terms of their mental health, and mental health and physical health are connected. It gives them social opportunities, even though our students are not just standing around talking, they're usually working out, but those small social interactions are very meaningful too. So we have been focused on this. We've been focused on how to set it up right and how to do it safe. Moving forward to the next slide, Ken, if you could. What have we been doing so far? So this hasn't been an overnight process. We've been working with our teams at the high schools on conditioning since the summer. And we've been doing this safely in small cohorts. We've been using common practices. So we're working within small cohorts. Right now, the cohorts are defined as a team, but earlier it was the 14 students or less. We screen students in. Here you see Coach Wright screening a student in with a quick temperature check. We've been only practicing outdoors. We have masking in place. Any surfaces are sanitized. No sharing water bottles. I mean, think of all the things that happen in a typical sports conditioning session. And our coaches have done an excellent job really adjusting. We've also worked with our school district in terms of contact tracing when we do have situations come out, because, to be honest, especially when we got into November and December, there were students who were exposed. We learned that they were exposed out in the community though. And our coaches have done an amazing job staying in contact with kids. We have had absolutely no spread of the virus within these groups, which really is a testament to the work that was done by the athletic directors, working with our coaches, training everyone to keep everyone safe. So we've been up to a lot, and it's been working really well for kids and for coaches, and we're excited to move to the next next phase in this, as Adam's going to talk to you about in a minute. But next slide, please, Ken. All right, so we have been working on a plan, a document, and we've been putting all of these things sort of together in one place, and you will all be able to review this. We've been updating it as the guidance change, as I said before. It maintains a lot of our normal operating procedures within athletics, but it also modifies, for all the safety things that we're talking about. We've been actively consulting with our district's insurance company to make sure that they're kind of in agreement with what we're doing and how we're putting some of these changes in place. And again, this addresses site-specific safety protocols. This addresses, as I said before, eligibility and grades and all those things that students need to be able to participate. It addresses transportation. It also addresses safe hosting of athletic contests. So, oops, what just happened here in my computer. Sorry about that. Can you hear me there? I just had a weird glitch on my computer screen. All right, thank you. We will make this document available on the district website, but it really lays out kind of top to bottom our entire approach with all of these changes and how we're going to handle all the different sorts of things that come up within athletics, from how to hold a meet all the way over to sort of transportation and all those types of things. So it really lays it out. So if you could go ahead and move to the next slide, Ken. Some of the state level guidance that we've been working with, we follow this closely, and Adam can attest. It's like our kind of Friday night texting back and forth, like what came out this week, because it seems like there's something new every week, some new update. We waited a really long time though. We did a lot of this work in the summer. Our coaches conditioned through the fall. And to be honest, a lot of principals in our section and athletic directors and coaches were getting very impatient with the lack of guidance from the state. And then on December 14th, a big document was released that really laid it out very clearly. It assigned each sport to a color tier based on the risk profile for that sport. Some of you have probably seen this document if you have kids who play club sports or little league, because it applies to all these different areas. So when that document came out, the CIF became very active. There were many meetings in place to sort of try to figure out how to work within these new guidelines. How are we going to change schedules and seasons, and are we going to move from the 2-season setup that we had at the beginning of the year to some different setup? So it was a lot of activity. And then in the midst of that, the CIF and the Sac Joaquin section determined that it was probably in the best interest of everyone to cancel playoffs and postseason, because that requires inter-county travel, lots of different mixing of groups. And also, if they're not going to be able to have fans at those events, it doesn't make a lot of sense financially for the sections to do that. They really operate on the income from those. So they went ahead and they canceled all postseason championships as far as the section playoffs and the section championships and those state level things are concerned. But within that document, it was very clear and very specific at each level and each sport what needed to be done as far as safety protocols. So our coaches and our ADs were really hungry for that document. And when we finally got it, we were able to really get to work on sort of putting our plan together. So the next slide really lays out for you in pretty plain detail which sports currently are allowed in each color tier. So once we got this information, we were able to go back to our league and work out sort of new schedules, because in consultation with our league, it's everybody's desire just to get kids playing as quickly as we possibly can, right? So we had to move some sports around. We created some sort of new mini seasons. We sort of have these 3 shorter mini seasons in place now, so that every student who plays every sport will have the opportunity to do so, depending on what color tier that we're in. We were hopeful that we can get to those orange and yellow sports this year, but we have a plan laid out that is going to allow us to, let's say, if in 2 weeks there's some kind of a miracle and we're in the yellow, we will still be able to have those sports in place based upon how the seasons are now set up. Even though the seasons will be shorter, there won't be a playoffs schedule. We'll just play within our league. we've still figured out a way to make it work. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Mr. White. He's going to take us through the rest of the presentation. So thank you very much, Mr. White.
Thank you. Next slide, Ken. So like Mr. Rich mentioned, once the Sac-Joaquin Central section canceled playoffs and set one season of sport, it was really up to each league then to sit down and redraft what those schedules would look like based on the calendar. We have done that. I want to kind of echo what Mr. Rich said, commending our athletic directors. In the last 2 weeks, they've been dealing with update after update and really been hustling to get this collaboration done with our local partners to make sure that our kids can get on the field of play as fast as possible. So we want to give you what this is going to look like in the spring through the lens of the MEL, which, as Mr. Santapadre mentioned, is the league that our two big comprehensive public schools compete in. Buckingham Charter is actually a member of the Sacramento Metro Athletic League, and that league has not yet produced new schedules. So we're going to kind of focus on the MEL at this time. One comment here, football presents unique challenges for two reasons. One is that the sport was assigned to the orange color tier, which we know we may be still a little ways away from. But that the second was that the CIF Sports Medicine Advisory Committee had determined that the sport needed to be finished this school year by April 17th. There are bylaws for football which specify numbers of practice days in pads for acclimatization purposes. So our league had to set a start date of no later than March 1st for that sport, which may not give it the best shot here. But we were under other restrictions there. Ken, next slide. So here's a look at what the athletic directors came up with. As Mr. Rich said, the MEL created 3 mini seasons. We're calling these blocks A, B, and C instead of our traditional fall, winter, and spring. And you can see on this calendar, Block A is actually going to begin next week. And we're super excited about this, to have kids have an opportunity to get out and play. This block includes 3 purple sports, cross country, boys golf, and girls tennis. And as you can see, we had to put football in there because of those other restrictions in terms of the dates that it's under. Block B then would begin in mid-March, and that block will include baseball and softball, which can both be played in red. Track and field and swim and dive will then begin at that time as well. And we've placed badminton and volleyball there. Okay, one more slide. And then here's block C. So this is later in the spring, and you can see it has many sports here, but this is where we put those yellow tier sports. Again, hoping to give them the best shot to play. So we have girls golf and boys tennis, which were separated from their counterparts, even though they were in purple, to help with some facility issues that we would run into there if they were together. Then we also have boys and girls soccer, boys and girls water polo, and then wrestling and boys and girls basketball. Okay, next slide. There are some specific challenges, with moving forward with this that we just wanted to highlight for you here tonight. The first is the idea of the inter-team competition. So unlike normal school years, we will not be doing any out-of-state or overnight events this year. CDPH has specified that all inter-team competition has to reside within your county or your adjacent county. And it has to be between 2 teams only. If we have events like a larger cross-country meet or a track and field championship at the end of the season, those are going to need to be approved by Solano County Public Health. And as you can imagine, transportation poses some issues here too, because we are used to being able to bus large groups of students to away matches. So in lieu of this year, we will be working with our families to transport athletes utilizing our current parent-driver policy, which is something many of our teams have already done and have done for many years. But we will have to be working with our families to do that for all of our away matches this year. Next slide. Specifically here too about spectators in venues and those capacities, our league partners did express concern over hosting spectators while in the purple tier. So in collaborating with them, we've agreed as a league to not have spectators or other school groups while in purple. But then when we do progress to the red tier, we will be following the CDPH guidelines, which allow 2 immediate household members per student to attend in person. Face coverings, of course, will be required, and physical distancing. The question of other school groups has come up, and really we're going to have to look at those on a sport by sport, facility by facility case. We would love to have our cheerleaders and bands at our athletic events this year, but it's going to have to be a slow go, and we'll see how this rolls out. And some of our capacity limits in some of our venues are not as large as others. So again, that'll have to be a sport by sport and facility by facility look. And last slide, Ken. And I didn't want us to forget our middle schools. So I have some experience here, and it's an important population in our district. So Vaca, Sierra Vista, Willis, Jepson, they all have athletic programs as well. They compete in the Northern Solano Athletic League, along with a partner in Travis and Kairos and BCS. Golden West, unfortunately, shared with us that they will not be offering a sports program this year for their students. But our middle schools are going to move forward with a sports program. It is reduced in capacity from what they normally do on a school year, and it falls within those purple tier sports. So we can give kids a chance to play in our middle schools. So they will be having cross country, again, starting right now. And then once cross country wraps up at the end of March, they'll transition and have track and field through April and May. And with that, we'd love to take some questions from you if you have any.
All right, let me get my screen here. Okay, Cecil, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do.
And then John.
A lot of questions. I'll try to go through them as fast as I can. With the parent transportation, do we have a limit of how many students per car?
We have a ride share document that we've developed for that purpose, which it really does kind of put this back on families to see what their comfort level is in terms of that. But we have a document that they'll use similar to our parent driver form that we'll have them fill out in order to do the ride share carpool. Yeah.
Given the passion for football in this city, are we being honest or realistic that orange tier by March 1st is, I think at this point, pretty impossible? Because you know what's going to happen if we get to that point and call it off. It's going to be hard, difficult. So are we being realistic with parents and our communication that we're fingers crossed, but not likely?
That's a really good question, Cecil. And for these students who have been conditioning this whole year in hopes that a season would come off, it's gonna be very tough. Our athletic directors, really worked with our head football coaches about what would really be the minimum number of games that would make the amount of preparation that goes into a football season worth doing. And their universal consensus and with our league was 5 games. Usually the students are playing a 5-game preseason and then a 5-game league season and then a 3 or 4 game postseason if they're doing well. And so our coaches and our ADs universally agreed, and our league voted that a 5-game season was the bare minimum. So we worked backwards from that. We felt it was important to schedule it because our students have worked and we wanted to have a plan. We also know that, as Adam said earlier, there's a lot of pressure on Governor Newsom to possibly change some of these things. And so we are operating on the information that we have in place. And we wanted to have a schedule that would be nimble enough to be able to switch if he all of a sudden said, hey, all bets are off and everything can be played in the red. We have a schedule that works for that, even if all the sports are in the red. And students can still play their sport now. They can play the next sport that they usually play, and they can play their last sport if they want to play that. So those multi-sport athletes would still get a shot. So, but as things stand today, it's tough.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, that if something were to change as far as this thing, to at least have the wheels turning, that if we can play football, we play football. And I know that I haven't really had a chance to meet you, but Adam and Ed can attest that there's no place I want to be on a Friday night than on a Saturday.
Right.
So,
Us too.
and then the other question I have is, was it 2 people per athlete's household for spectators?
Yeah, that is what is in the California Department of Public Health youth sport guidance to us. So it's 2 members of the immediate household per athlete, and we're gonna allow that to happen once we get to the red tier and beyond. But like I said, also once we get beyond that, there may be other opportunities for some of our other student groups to attend as well, like cheerleaders or bands and things like that.
Because I was thinking with baseball and softball, we're going to have kids sitting outside the dugout to maintain social distance. So it's going to be hard, or something along that line. My concern is, as we all know from graduation ceremonies, once upon a time, a senior was given 4 tickets or 6 tickets for their family. And all of a sudden it just blew up that we got rid of the ticket system because uncle and aunt and grandma and grandpa and, my friend and everybody wanted to come to graduation. How do we plan on enforcing 2 people per household if you've got mom, dad, and a sibling? I mean, I know what you're doing is you're following the guidelines, but I'm also would not want to be the person working that gate that day when I get a family that rolls up on me and they're going to start. Your thoughts on how that will be handled.
Let me jump in with that one just to start it off. And then if you guys have other thoughts, I have to tell you, our administrators are very experienced at all of the issues that you're talking about. In our community, they want their kids to play, and I know they want to watch them. We're going to live stream as many events as we can so people can watch from home. And then we're just going to have conversations with people, and we're going to make sure everybody stays safe and understands why we're doing things. And we've just had really good luck in this community being able to work it that way.
Yeah, well, I think that's good, Ed. And I think the thing is, the more communication we do now, long before that first game is played, I think will allow those people to get everything out of their system, ask their questions, clarify where we're at, instead of waiting till that first game and somebody rolls up with 2 kids and grandma. And you've been to Ed and Adam Rich and the people that have been around high school sports. You roll up with 7 people from one family and you're going to turn 5 of them away. So communication is key, but thank you. This is a very thorough plan. Thank you.
John?
What's up, gentlemen? Thumbs up. It's unfortunate that you are under the same issues that the educational side is. The plans change from this minute to this minute to this minute. I applaud you. Please thank the ADs, the athletic directors, for all their work that they're doing. We heard from a lot of parents earlier tonight on mental health issues and physical issues. And although sports only captures a percentage of that, probably a very small percentage compared to the rest of the campus, you guys are making positive effects on the kids by doing that. I can't imagine being a kid and going through practice and then at the end of the year not even being able to play, and let's put it at the senior year from there. But what you're doing and what your coaches are going through and your athletic directors are truly affecting those kids in a very positive way that we may not be able to be effective with all the other kids. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you and the rest of your entire team for what they're doing for the kids. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good questions?
I could ask just one more in regards to football. If we can't make this March 1st work because of the contact, and that's what it is, they've got to have the contact practice for a week if they're going to have the 5 games. I don't know exactly how these 7-on-7 passing tournaments work. I don't know how much contact there is or whatever, but is there any chance we can do something like that to give the football, a skills competition or something where we can, I know Vacaville High is dying to get that football field in business, and Adam Rich at Wood, you've got a beautiful stadium. I just don't know if there's anything we could do like that, like a 7-on-7 tournament or something like that, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Well, Trustee Conley, I will say that, Adam talked about the goalpost moving, and there's a good chance that we may see more updates come along. If you've been following Governor Newsom's press conferences, there's been a lot of talk about youth sports in our state in the last week. So there's a chance we may see some updated guidelines coming again, and at that point we will pivot again. But the most recent one did allow student athletes to compete in club sports and high school sports at the same time. So I was really grateful to see that, so that they can pursue those opportunities outside our school system as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have known the three of you for a long time. So I get to ask you a little bit of a challenging question. I really, really appreciate this. And you know, I think that the kids are really lucky, you know, because you have their heart and mind. And, you know, a lot of work's done by you guys, by the CIF. So my question is, what about band and orchestra and choir? Is the same amount of, I mean, there are hundreds of kids that are in that. And, you know, I wasn't really thinking about it, but I was thinking as you gave your presentation, is there any reason why violinists or drummers or whatever couldn't be 6 feet apart using their own equipment outside? I mean, it doesn't seem different to me. So I guess I'd like your thoughts on that.
I mean, I can start off, Michael, by saying that our music teachers have been conducting some after-school activities. Just sort of in terms of getting students there to have a rehearsal, to have a practice. And if we do get into that red tier, I think bringing cheer, bringing band, bringing drum line, there's no air coming out of a drum, right? I mean, like you would a horn or something that's going to need to be covered. But no, I think that we are looking for every opportunity we can to engage kids, in that sort of after school time. And I don't see a reason why, if there's space and there was an instructor, whether it was a coach or whether it was the teacher who wanted to do that, that they couldn't do that. The piece with our coaches specifically is that when the coaches are coaching, they're not in the role of a teacher per se. They're in the role of a coach, and so it's really a different role as far as being an employee is. So it's sort of a different classification of those duties, I guess, if that sort of makes sense, and what we can have those folks do. So it's a little bit tricky, but we have had some of our activities teachers and some of our other music folks choose to do those things after school. Certainly not as much as a daily practice, but a little bit.
So they would have to choose to do that?
If it was part of a class, or if it was part of the teacher's job versus a coach's job, which is a different type of employee, then yes, they would at this point.
So I guess I would just, I don't want to take up more time, but I would ask that, you give as much attention to that as you do to the athletics, because it means the same to the kids that play and can't play. It's the same. So I just would like to see the same amount of attention and given to that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay. Thank you very much for a very good presentation.
Good job, Adams.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Adams and Ed.
Good job.
Okay.
I just like saying Adams.
Ed, change your name to Adam, please.
Okay, next we have 17C, which is a mental health update. Kate, Sasha, Kiara, and that's it. Those three.
Hello, good evening, President Kitsis, Governing Board members, and Superintendent Shamia. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to provide a mental health update. I will be sharing the presentation myself. So hopefully everyone can see this. As I'm sure you can imagine, youth are struggling more now than ever before. According to Mental Health America surveys, 11 to 17-year-olds, about 83% are struggling with moderate to severe anxiety, and about 90% are struggling with moderate to severe depression at this point. What our clinicians are doing, so there are nine clinicians and myself providing outreach to students. These are our weekly averages. So as you can see, there are about half of students responding and getting individual services every week from us as the mental health clinicians. There are also group services and student meetings. We've been working in conjunction with the youth services section of the police department, as well as A Better Way, who have also been contacting hundreds of families and providing services. In addition to individual and group services, we've been doing a lot of crisis support check-ins, student check-ins, suicide risk assessments. Between YSS and the mental health clinicians, we've done over 50 suicide risk assessments this school year, none of which resulted in hospitalization. We've also been doing a lot of resource linkage and referral allocation, parent consultations, assessments, and working with school psychologists, staff presentations, class presentations. Earlier this year when we did our presentation, Joanna Littell discussed her Mindful Mondays. So the staff have been receiving weekly emails about self-care activities that they can try. Earlier this school year, the mental health clinician team reviewed with all site administrators, school counselors, school psychologists, as well as the engagement specialists, a mental health for school sites shared Google Drive that contains the referral process. So there's a referral form for YSS, mental health, and A Better Way. It's the same form for all agencies, as well as the Solano County access referral form and guides with how to make referrals. There's another folder that covers all of our suicide prevention information. So that's like contains a flow chart with who to contact and when, as well as a suicide risk assessment, safety plan, and other documentation that would be helpful. I've also been doing a lot of work on our mental health clinician website. So that contains, I'm just going to open it up real quick so you all can see some of what's on here. So on the right-hand side, we have our emergency resources, including a new training that's available to middle and high school staff and students. It's a 90-minute training that can teach those folks about life-saving skills. There are also other crisis lines, an online resource, community agencies are all listed. All of our contact information is listed on this page. And then there are sub pages that contain information about different things, such as a COVID-19 page that helps, there are videos, articles, and activities for people to access and utilize to kind of try to help them through some of the difficulties that COVID-19 has brought us. And so next up, I have Kira Davis to talk a little bit about what she's been doing at her sites.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. So my name is Kira Davis, and I am a mental health clinician with the district. I've been here for about 5 years. And my sites this year are Kimmy Rap, Kimmy Charter, as well as I help serve students at Golden Hills who have IEPs. And I am lucky to be part of the SARB panel. So tonight what I wanted to talk about is what the things that we are doing at my sites to address the needs of students. I am happy to hear that the needs of students are being talked about, parents are aware, faculty is aware, and I just would definitely piggyback on that, that we are having to find new ways to support our students. So the first thing I want to touch on is crisis supports. Now more than ever, there's more mental health crises, more students experiencing mental health problems for the first time, as well as huge losses in grief, huge losses, so the students are dealing with grief. So the good thing about this is that we have some really strong teams here at our district. So, and at my site specifically, I'm going to talk about the roles that we work together as the administrators, working with counselors, working with school psychologists, and identifying those students who need help. Another great support we have is our teachers. I am constantly getting kind of updates and emails about students that teachers are concerned about. Teachers are watching out and looking for students that need help on Zoom, or maybe they're turning in assignments that are concerning. Another great resource that we have in identifying our students that need help is our Go Guardian program. So that's almost weekly, I'd say, that we're following up with students that are showing some concerns and that need mental health supports. So the other thing I want to talk about is crisis supports, is how those needs have gone up. So I'm thinking like before COVID and when we were in school, you know, of course, there were still issues coming up with students in crisis and grief. But what that would often look like is follow up for a couple times and traumas, they're just compounding. So there's students are dealing with more and more things, and it's not just a few quick follow up, excuse me. So we are seeing students for months now. And as I've heard tonight, there is a huge need. Thank goodness it's not something that not thank goodness, but 9 clinicians cannot handle that. But what's amazing to me is how our community has come together. So more than ever, I'm hearing about students who are getting services from Kaiser, getting services from Solano County Mental Health. And then we are able to support through our district and our resources that we have those students. So that's a little bit about the crisis support. The other big thing I wanted to talk about is our outreach, and specifically at my sites, the Kimmy sites, and definitely the students at Golden Hills that have IEPs. We have to think outside of the box. So when distance learning first started, probably March, April, it was all about like phone calls, emails, scheduling, rescheduling. And what we found is that just doesn't work for our kids, especially like our high-risk kids. They're a little tougher to reach. So the first kind of line of defense was doing stuff like delivering books to them, doing home visits outside the home, of course, with masks. So just so they can see that have that human contact. Other things that we're doing at the Kimmies is delivering food boxes. So, and I know that we are not the only ones doing that. I see teachers, I see our student support specialists picking up and delivering our VUSD food boxes. And it's a great way to engage with our students. Most recently, we just started feeding the kids at our hub at Kimmy. So that's exciting and hopefully an incentive for some kids to come. Another form of outreach that we're doing is following up after crisis. That involves a lot. I remember it started with the fires. Then we kind of moved to the racially related events that were happening in our community. Most recently, we had violence in our community. That really touched me because I have students who live at the veterans apartments, and hearing their stories are in and around the veterans apartments. Hearing their stories and their experiences. So what we were able to do with the help of like Rayanne and Kate was very supportive, and Allison Lorea, the counselor at Kimmy Rap, is we were able to go to the complex and provide information to working with the manager at the complex, provide information about how to support students who have been through traumatic events, or students and families, as well as mental health resources. We are able to get great information from the county, and then ways to cope. So we were able to include like crayons, coloring sheets, just letting them know that we're here and we care. The last thing I wanted to really touch on is coping. So what has amazed me, and I'm so thankful for my job, is that our students are so resilient. Our families are resilient. And then even though times are really hard right now, our students are getting through it. And I think we're really coming together as teachers, as staff, and students, like everybody, there's so much more kindness, more patience, more understanding. So that's a huge part of this and getting through this. I know a big part that clinicians are focusing on now is like looking to the future, looking how you've gotten through this and what you're going to do from here. So this isn't going to last forever. We're almost there. Just hang in there and keep doing what you're doing, because we are getting through it. And then another part of coping that I wanted to touch on briefly is a lot of our students did know how to access services, and they did have coping mechanisms, but this has really brought about a whole new group of students who, as mentioned, can't play sports the way they used to, can't hang out with their friends the way they used to. And these are a lot of the students that we're seeing right now. But the good news is, I will tell you, is that all the students that are being brought to our attention, even if we're not serving them directly through our school district, we're not just passing them by. Students are getting help and are getting support, and it is out there. So that's something that we are doing. And we're teaching our kids that it's okay to not be okay sometimes, and it's okay to need support. And also, maybe this week you don't want support. Maybe this week you just need some time to yourself. So kind of finding the balance in between all that. But again, our students are great. And I've seen so many families being supportive, staff, and we're almost there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. I'm very honored to work with you. You've done a wonderful job. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions?
God, I should just leave my raised hand up all night, I think. Do you see any common denominators in these students who are needing this type of help? Is it social, economic, anything you could see that would be maybe an underlying factor?
It's really hard to answer that question because I think the common denominator is just being human and alive right now. I think that a lot of people are struggling in one way or another. I think, some of the students that Kira was mentioning, so students who have experienced recent trauma, and who have experienced like maybe some of the more heavy traumas throughout the year, so like the fires, losing their homes and things like that. Those things are heavier and they might require more of that like one-on-one therapy support, where others where it's just, we're all struggling with loss this year. Like we've lost our normal way of life. And so I think all students are struggling with that in one way or another. And so there are different responses for different things. And I think community and kindness and empathy are some of the most significant and, things that we can do to help each other through this.
Given the students that we have reported at each board meeting, I mean, we've had some exceptional student leaders on our campuses. Have we been able to tap into that at all to have them help as well? Maybe reach out to a student or so? Let me give you an example of, in Dixon, there was a Dixon High School junior who one night stepped in front of a train. And he had a twin brother. And you can imagine what the twin brother's been going through since then. The twin brother's a baseball player. The family obviously is not financially well off. And with this expense of the child's death, his baseball teammates raised the money to get him the bat he wanted, the new bat he wanted. That was the, talking about something to perk him up. All the things they have done and all the counseling and all that, which was great. And I'm not questioning what you do, but his teammates coming to have his back and getting him that bat meant everything to him, and he's starting to come out of it. So I think if we can use that component as well as what you do, because ultimately they're with their friends, they're with their age groups. So, but I happen to be bipolar, so I am all about mental health. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right, coming together and supporting each other, kids supporting their peers, adults and parents supporting each other is a huge healing factor.
I know the one thing we started at one school that my wife worked at is anytime we spotted a child having lunch by themselves, we would tap our student leadership and go, somebody go over there, or even some of the adults, we'd go sit by them and make sure that every kid had company for lunch. Because you've seen those. And it's the same thing now when a child's home alone and mom and dad are off to work and they start staring at the walls and the clock goes slower and slower, being able to identify them. And maybe a student calls them or hits them up on Instagram or whatever they do, all that new stuff these days. I think it'd be incredible. With the addition, obviously, of what you folks are doing, which is obviously way more than I think has ever been done in the past. When I was in school, I was called energetic or enthusiastic when I was basically bouncing off the walls. So thank you for what you're doing for these children. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cecil. Anybody else?
Yeah, real quick, like, Sasha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Sounds like your team's overwhelmed or just have an increased number of cases to deal with. Were we able to use any of that COVID money to address that and support them in any way of outside assistance or anything? Just checking in on that aspect.
Yeah, so that's actually something we looked at, but to be honest, we still have a vacancy in our mental health clinician team. And, you know, we did increase our grant with YSS and the police department for the interns that they provide a little bit this year. But similar to us, they had difficulty finding additional interns. So they've gotten everybody that they could get. And we're continuing to look for additional clinicians to fill our last spot on our team because we have a temporary vacancy. And so I think it's more a supply and demand issue than anything where there's no supply. But you know, they've, I think, divvied up the cases and are making it work, and they're an amazing and supportive team of one another. And so I think that they are really, you know, pitching in and being collaborative. One of the things that they did do was a better way is also providing services to us. And so by streamlining and making our referral processes, you know, be available to all of the different entities that are helping with mental health in the district, that has helped as well. So although we can't find additional personnel, we're just trying to make our systems as efficient as possible so we can reach as many kids as possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you to you and the rest of the team that presented tonight. And grab one of those top interns from the police department, you know, and maybe snaggle them into a full-time position. But thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think, Sasha, I don't want to say.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Kelly.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for your presentation tonight and for everything that you do. I'm just so grateful for you. I would like to see us get more COVID funds from the state and the Fed, and I'd like to see more of that money given to mental health. So I'm hoping that we do get more relief funds. And, you know, personally, speaking for myself, I would like to see some of those funds go towards mental health issues, because I know that's an area that our students are really struggling with, and the emotional effects and the tolls that it's taken on our students and families has just been, you know, has just been, you know, terrible. And I just hope that the students who need help can get help. And so my question is, how many students are out there that need help that can't get help? Or, you know, is there like a waiting list of students, or are you guys just, I understand you're totally overwhelmed with the amount of, you know, outreach and things that you're doing, but are there students that aren't getting help that need it right now?
I think most students are getting help pretty quickly. So the way things have been working is, let's say, you know, a teacher identifies a student, or, you know, a student identifies themselves. Their school counselor or administrator will submit a referral to the mental health clinician at that site, or to me. And we'll review the referral and either keep it, pass it along to YSS or a better way, and they'll review it and reach out to the family within like a day or two. I think the main trouble we're running into is people not responding when they receive the phone call.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Cecil, do you want to say something?
Just real quick, Sasha, whatever we can do on the board to support you and your crew in this. I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody. And then also the other thing is that maybe it's just a Dutch Brother card. Maybe it's a sports lanyard, anything like that that makes that kid put a smile on their face, maybe ease their troubles for one day. Whatever we need, whatever you need, let's do it. And that means for the rest of them too. So thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, and I know that we have new board members, but you've probably already learned pretty quickly that this board and this district has been exceptionally supportive of mental health. And I'm just so grateful that we are where we are because of the board's vision around mental health. And we were, I think, so prepared to be able to support our students through this crisis. If we can't manage to hire additional staff for our mental health team at this point, I don't know what other districts are doing right now that didn't have the foresight to build this type of mental health system prior to this. So I just want to thank the board for that vision and for being supportive of this team.
Okay. So, so obviously, you know, we have many more mental health clinicians per student than anybody around here. We have really done that, and that was really a great thing. I wanted to ask a couple questions. Kate, you gave some figures in the beginning, right when you started, about, I think you said 83% were experiencing at least moderate anxiety and 90% at least moderate depression.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what those numbers are in years that aren't pandemic?
I don't know. I think what I've read previously is they're more in the 30% range.
So I guess one thing that I want to say, and again, I have, I'm a mental health professional and, for Solano County. And I think it's really important to say, you guys are amazing. You guys are great. And you're not touching beyond the surface. 90% of kids are moderately depressed. That's a horror show. I mean, that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
But that's a horror show. So I think that's really, at the end of the day, what we have to put our arms around. And that's why we're all so dedicated. We got to get back to school, because you can touch so many kids when they're at school. You can't touch them when they're not at school. You don't get any kind of the number of referrals from teachers. Teachers don't have their hands and their eyes on the kids. So it's kind of like you're doing so much, and the slope is straight up, and you're climbing to try to get that. And I just think it's really important to note that, because it's the same in the mental health clinics in the county. There's so much that we're not doing. There's so much that we're missing. We're not doing so much face-to-face because of COVID and because we're doing telehealth. It's a crap show. So thanks for dealing with all that, but I think it's really important to acknowledge that as well, with all your good work.
Yes.
Do you know the number? And again, if you don't, it's okay. The referrals that you're getting from teachers now versus, again, like last year when there's no COVID?
I don't know, because referrals being filtered through the mental health clinicians is new this year. So I'm not totally sure, but we are getting referrals daily.
Okay.
New referrals. Mm-hmm.
Does the district have any kind, I know they have like a tip line, but do we have a hotline, a warm line, a text line that says, hey, if you're having a hard time, text this line and we'll check it? Do we have anything like that?
I don't know if we have that goes specifically to someone with Vacaville, but on the website there are text lines for different, a variety of different.
Right. No, yeah, but I mean Vacaville, and I think this may be something we could think about at some time. We're talking about COVID funds or something, because kids are attached to their teachers, kids are attached to people they know, and kids are texting all the time. So they would be more likely, I think, to send something into a district line than they would a national hotline. So maybe that's something that we could think about. The last thing I wanted to ask was, are we making a lot of referrals to Beacon? Beacon is the mild to moderate mental health service through Medi-Cal, and it's free for anybody that has Medi-Cal to get counseling services.
Those referrals we would send to Access, and we do send referrals to Access, and that referral form is also in the folder for.
Okay, so just to say, if they're mild and they just need a little something, you don't have to go through Access. You could go straight to Beacon, because it's kind of an easy referral.
Okay.
And we could talk about that another time, but that's an
So over the summer, we have some projects that we're already talking about, and one of them will be to collaborate more. So kind of reach out beyond, so we have YSS, A Better Way. We want to be more collaborative with Kaiser. We'll add Beacon to the list as well as the county, just so that we have a better, more communication with all of our community's resources.
Thank you. And thank you, Kate and Kara and Sasha, for your, dedication to our students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Great job. Thanks, Kara, Kate.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Okay, we're finally made it to the action items. Okay, the first action item is adoption of the resolution for Black History Month in February. And I know, Teresa, that we had one person at least that wanted to speak about it. So are there any others at this point?
Yes, there are a few. So we'll start with Danette Mitchell, please.
I don't see that name, Teresa, in the attendees.
She was there earlier. Yeah, I see her there.
How do you spell last name?
Mitchell, Mitchell.
Okay, I'll get it.
First name is Danette, Danette.
Got it.
Okay, Danette, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Vacaville Unified School District Board members. I applaud the board for being open to adopting a resolution recognizing the contributions of Black Americans in this country and understanding that the recognition is long overdue. I know the resolution is a beginning step. I hope it leads to substantive policies that will address disparities specifically when it comes to African American students, namely Black males, rather than becoming an annual symbolic gesture. I understand the importance of embracing our commonality as Americans. However, in understanding the world through commonality, I believe we must recognize that with intent, equality has not been available for African Americans. Therefore, viewing many situations through the lenses of this narrative may risk being distorted. I hope the school board will also be open to considering implementing the 1619 project into the school's curriculum to address the false and censored American history that has been in our public schools, perpetuating explicit biases and disparities. Again, I thank you for your support of our students and for your efforts in preparing a resolution in recognition of Black History Month. This is another step to implementing transformative change. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Danette, much appreciated.
Okay, Mr. Kitsis, our next speaker is Johnny Kong George.
Okay, Jonathan? Mr. George, can you hear us?
Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to unmute me. I got it.
There you go. You're up.
Thank you. Thank you, President Kitsis, and thank you, board, for having me and allowing me to speak. I'll just be really brief. Sister Danette Mitchell said it all, but I just want to thank school board Kelly Walsh for her courage, despite the pushback, for recognizing February as Black History Month by authoring this Black History Proclamation. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This proclamation is that step. The inaugural Black History celebration on the 20th in Vacaville is that step. Bold, courageous individuals such as School Board Welch and President Adam Rich, who use their power, influence, and their voice is that step. I encourage the Vacaville Unified School Board members to take that step by using their power, influence, and voice, and accept and adopt this proclamation. This is 2021. take that step on this journey. It's been way too long for us to recognize Black History Month in Vacaville. Thank you again for allowing me to speak, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. George. I appreciate it. I just need to let you know that, Kelly asked for this to be on the agenda and that we put it on. So no pushback for that. So thank you for your speech.
Thank you, brother.
Next.
Okay, our next speaker is Danielle Shea.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Danielle.
Hi. I just want to thank everyone for being here this evening and for presenting, even though I know it's really late. I really appreciate the consideration of adopting this resolution, even though I'm not alone. We do have to point out that it is unfortunate that we're in 2021 and this is just being proposed. But I'm happy that it is now. I urge the board to adopt this resolution. I've been appreciative of efforts lately by the board and the school district to further education and be proactive about racial injustice issues. But I do think we just have a really, really, really long way to go. I hope that this is just the first step in many toward fostering a really inclusive and diverse community for the school district. I know we've all seen all the things happening lately with students and within our community. I would really like to see a lot more forward progress, but I am very, very appreciative of the progress that we've made, particularly since we've had the new board members. And I really just want to give you a shout out for that. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Danielle.
Okay, next speaker is Ravante Robinson.
Hi, Ravante, you're up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying thank you to Kelly Welsh for bringing this resolution forward. I also just want to point out that this being the first one, it illustrates how far we still have to go, but it's a great first step. And I'm actually really happy to hear this. I wish this happened when I was still in school. And I just hope that everyone is on board and passes it. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravante.
Okay, our next speaker is Christian Cisneros.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to actually call to thank Kelly Welsh for putting this resolution on the agenda. I think it's a great step towards restorative justice, even though it is 2021, as I just pointed out. But it is commendable, and I'm very glad that we're doing this now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cisneros.
Okay, next speaker is Sarah Palmisano.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
I just wanted to echo everyone's sentiments so far, commend Kelly for this resolution. Also echo what Danette said and support the school district adopting the curriculum in the 1619 project. I think that would go a long way in a lot of the education that has ultimately been lacking in most school districts, not to, particularly pinpoint VUSD. But this is a long way coming, and good job, guys. Thanks for the work.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, next up is Giselle Cisneros.
Giselle, are you there?
Please unmute your microphone, Ms. Cisneros.
Wrong Cisneros. You're trying to unmute me, but not Giselle.
There's two, Ken. There's Giselle and Christian.
Hello, it's Giselle Cisneros. I would just like to start off and congratulate Kelly Welsh on this historic resolution. It is unfortunate that this is a historic moment in 2021 that we're celebrating Black History Month. In this way, I hope this leads to real systemic change. But this is a commendable moment. So congratulations. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and the last speaker I have is Jennifer Piazza.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank Kelly for bringing this resolution and for it to being considered by the board. I just wanted to echo what everybody else has said about the 1619 project and about how important this is. You know, I think a really good example of how important it is the tarps at Wilsey Wood, which are fantastic, by the way. It just demonstrates how important this resolution is to our community in general. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have never seen a meme like that on Zoom, so that's interesting.
I have no idea what my picture is.
It's a dancing cat with a heart over its head.
Hello, Kitty.
Oh, that's my daughter's.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. I guess, Kelly, would you like to read the resolution?
Sure, I can read it. I just need to pull it up in front of me here. Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, the attachment's not up on my computer, but I'll pull it up right now. Hold on.
It's 10 o'clock.
All right, Vacaville Unified School District Resolution, recognition of February as Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month was set forth to recognize the heritage and achievements of Black people in the United States.
Frozen.
Yes, Miss Welsh appears to be frozen.
Okay. Does anybody else have it up?
Yes, I do. I can
Okay. Could you read it?
certainly.
I'm here.
She's back. She's back.
Sorry, I'm
ahead.
trying. I don't know what's going on with my internet. I don't know which paragraph I left off at, but
After the first paragraph, then start with the second one.
All right. Whereas the Vacaville Unified School District endeavors to provide each student the opportunity to understand the commonality of all people and to have the opportunity to understand the world through this commonality, as well as each student's individual heritage. And whereas the contribution of African Americans from all walks of life throughout the history of the United States have benefited all of us. And whereas Black History Month encourages achievements of African Americans, and whereas corresponding school activities held during this month encourage students to continue to strive for the best education as a means to fulfill their potential, and whereas not only during the month of February 2021, but throughout the school year, it is important to recognize the contributions of African Americans in society and also to recognize disparities in student achievement in order to move towards greater equity in our education system and the greater community. Therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of the Vacaville Unified School District that February 2021 be designated Black History Month.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any, well, actually, why don't we get a motion and a second, and then anybody could speak about it if they want to.
I'd like to ask Kelly to make the motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, second by Daniel. Any comment?
I have a comment. I just want to let you know there's a lot of comments tonight that this is kind of the first, and maybe the first for the resolution, but we've celebrated Black History Month for many years, and including the art that is shared at Will C. Wood. This year happened to be outside on the stadium, only due to the fact that no students on campus. But this is nothing new to our campus. We've been celebrating this and teaching this for many years. And I don't want that to go and get kind of passed over thinking this is something new. The resolution is new, but we've been doing this for many years and supporting this month as long as I can remember here in Vacaville, and I've been here for a long time. So I just don't want to make sure that this is just not a first for us. Maybe the resolution is, and thank you to Kelly for bringing that up. But other than that, we've been celebrating this and recognizing Black History Month for many years.
Thank you, John. Kelly?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, John, for your comments. I think that in general, the board hasn't done resolutions in the past. And I recognize that VUSD has celebrated Black History Month in other ways. And I haven't been on the board for as long as you have, and Michael, and so I don't have the history that you all have. But I think that in general, our board just hasn't done resolutions. And what I think is that resolutions, they're done by many, many school districts. And what I think is good about the resolution process in general is that we have something concrete that we can put out to the public and say, we voted on and we passed a resolution for, X or Y or Z. And so it can go on our website, it can go on our social media for whatever that resolution is. So, if it's, Red Ribbon Week or Suicide Prevention Week or gay. I think those resolutions are important to get out to the public. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Kelly. Anybody else?
I would just like to say, Kelly, that maybe it's not breaking ground, but your heart is certainly in the right place and bringing this to us. So thank you.
Cecil, anybody else? Kelly?
I just want to say, having been in the district for many, many years, we have recognized Black History Month and other important different groups, et cetera. But I think we have a lot of work to do. And I think that these are the times that we're really stopping and thinking about what are we actually saying when we say these things. And so I appreciate the resolution for that and bringing it forward to where we are today in 2021 and going forward. I think that there is a lot left to do. So thank you.
Comments? So I would like to, go ahead, Santiago.
So we passed this, which I'm hoping we will. How would we get these resolutions out to the administrators and to our schools, and what does it mean to them? So will Jane put this out to administrators, or what will come of the resolution other than what we're just voting on it right now?
Right. Go ahead, Jane.
We send updates to all staff get board updates, board meeting updates after the board meeting. Teresa, right?
Yes.
So we'll go out.
But specific though to the resolution though.
I think what's important to know what we're doing is that on campuses, we're celebrating this. You heard that from our student representatives tonight. They're celebrating it already on their campuses. So I think a resolution is a written piece of paper. I think it's more important to see what our actions are. And that's what you heard from our students tonight, is they're celebrating that throughout their campuses. And they're educating all the students on Black history and all the attributes that were given to us. That's to me is more than any piece of paper, is what are we doing action wise? And I think our students and our staff are doing that. And we're seeing that on every campus that is being celebrated. To me, a piece of paper, that's good. We have a resolution. But more importantly, what are we doing to back that resolution? And what we're backing is what our students and staff are doing for each other at the student level, and our staff is doing to educate everyone.
I can send it to principals as well, so they share it with their staff.
Can I just ask Santiago, is there something that you're wanting or suggesting?
Well, no, I was just wondering how that, okay, this is our first resolution. There hasn't been any resolution to Vacaville Unified. So once we pass this, which like I said, I'm sure we will. I'm confident we will, I should say. We heard from 3 high schools. I just wonder, is it going to go to all the other schools in the district, to the principals, to the teachers, let's recognize this month, and let's, what are we going to do about it other than just like John said, it's a piece of paper.
So I will send it to principals. Our principals, especially elementary, send out newsletters every week, and those have a lot in there around the activities they're doing around Black History Month. So there's a lot going on, but I'll send it to principals tomorrow, and they'll make sure it gets distributed out to staff.
Kelly?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I do realize that it could be considered just a piece of paper, and that what our actions are and what we're actually doing is truly more important than just a piece of paper. But I think that this piece of paper, this resolution, can be not only distributed to staff and to let our school community know what our board passed, but it can also be put on social media. There can be a press release. There could be on our website. We can have a resolutions tab on our website. I mean, I've seen other districts' websites and all the resolutions they do, and it's not just a piece of paper, but it's us taking action to show the school community that we support our Black students, that we support Black History Month, that we support the teaching of Black history in our curriculum. Like many of the speakers were talking about this 1619 project in our curriculum. Like this is just the first resolution. I just think that resolutions generally haven't been done, but they can be a catalyst or a tool to let people know that we care about things like this. And I might bring another resolution in the future. About a different issue or a different month or a different cause. This is just happens to be Black History Month, and I wanted to recognize that. And I want to let our school community know our board cares, and our board is paying attention to the struggles of Black folks in our community. So I think it can be seen as just a piece of paper, but and our actions are important, but resolutions are something that can be distributed wide and far to let our community know that we are paying attention. So thanks.
So my suggestion would be this, and I'm just making a suggestion, that maybe at one of the meetings that we have a couple of board workshops coming up, we could talk about resolutions, because we really haven't done them that much. And we could talk about what the process is of distributing, or however we do that. And we could all do that together. This is a hard place to do that, but we can do that. That's what we do with those board workshops, when we try to figure out, how to handle things. So does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So my comment about this is that, John, I really appreciate that you brought up the fact that, we try to do those things, and we do them at schools, and we do that. And I think that's super important. And I also think it's important that globally the board, who makes policy for the district, says, as we're doing here, that this is important. And I think both things are really important. And, I was thinking about it, like, why is it important? And people have different thoughts and feelings about it. But to me, it's important because as a white person, it doesn't matter to me whether you have a White History Month, because history is kind of written by white people. And that's not bad or good, it just is. So there are many, many, many Black people who feel like they've gotten written out of history, or that the history has not been written from their point of view. So that's the reason, to me, why it's so important. That's really it. And that's why I think it means something to Black people, whereas it wouldn't matter to me as much as a white person. So just wanted to give my 2 cents there. And let's end this discussion and let's vote. Teresa?
All right. So I have the motion by Ms. Welsh and the second by Mr. Santillan. Mr. Conley, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Dally,
Yes.
Mr. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Santillan,
Yes.
Ms. Welsh,
Yes.
Mr. Serrato,
Yes.
and Mr. Kitsis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have 18B, approval of 2021-22 student calendars. Is there anything we need to know about that, Jane, particularly, or just what it is?
I don't think there is. They're the same calendars. We didn't change the schedule,
Okay.
you know, and we.
I'll make a
union.
motion to approve.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Sorry, Jane.
It's all right.
We'll just step on you, that's all.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, so Mr. Jansen, you made the motion. Was it you, Mr. Conley, that seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, your vote, Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, we have 18C, approval of payment to schools excess liability fund. It seems fairly self-evident to me, but so do we need anything, Jane, or just?
You know, Kelly Burks, can you go?
Hi, Kelly.
This is a little bit of an odd item, so.
It
Okay.
is odd.
Go ahead, Kelly Burks.
So there's a new law, Assembly Bill 218, for childhood victims of sexual assault. They have until the age 40 now, and within 5 years of discovery of the abuse, to file a civil lawsuit. So it provides this 3-year window of revival claims that would have otherwise been expired because of the previous statute of limitations. So we're in that revival window. We have until, or victims, I'm sorry, the victims have until January of 2023 to file those claims. And then our district was with North Bay School Insurance Authority. We were a member of that group, and they were a sub-member of the School Excess Liability Fund, known as SELF, from 1986 to 2005. And so we're receiving this invoice now because their board is levying additional contributions from former members like ourselves, and to provide the additional contributions that are specifically for the possibility of future claims. So we're working with our current insurance vendor, North Bay Schools Insurance Authority, to let SELF know that we don't agree with this payment. We'll send the letter with the payment, letting them know that we're making the payment under protest. We don't agree with it or any future or potential assessments. So this invoice was a surprise, which we didn't have included in the budget, but we will add it at second interim. And we are going to make the payment just so we're not assessed any late fees. But we will follow up with our current vendor now, just see if there is anything that we can do. We're being assessed for 2 of the 4 years that they audited, but currently there are no actual claims at this time. Are there any questions?
I have a question. If there
Yes.
are no claims that happen, do we get the money back?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. What was
If
that?
there are no claims that happen, do we get the money back?
Well, that's what we're hoping, because right now they're just saying that they're assessing the claims or the contributions for possible claims, but that there aren't any. So that's why we're going to follow up. But they do have until January of 2023 to make any claims. So we might not be able to file for that refund or possibility of receiving those funds back until this window has closed.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
If there's
thank
no other,
Oh.
if there's no other questions, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. I just want to say that you are incredibly clear at explaining things. That was really clear. Thank you.
And she looks very
Thank you.
comfortable in that corner right there on
Looks
her
like she's on
couch,
vacation.
doesn't she?
Yeah, on the couch with the dog. It's after 10 o'clock.
He's waited a long time for this.
Okay, we got a
Thank
motion
you.
and a second.
Okay, Mr. Conley, your vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, next we have approval of agreement with Rainforest Grau Architects for the Vacaville High School Improvement Project, not to exceed $276,000.
I'll move it.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments? Okay, Teresa?
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, the last action item is approval of an agreement with Structure Groups for the 100 McClellan Street Improvement Project, an amount not to exceed $314,280. And again, it's a Measure A item.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any comment? Okay, Teresa?
Okay, Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, now we have the consent calendar, normally done in one motion. Is there anybody that needs to pull anything from there? Okay, so can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Okay, Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
Mr. Kitsis?
yes. Okay, future business. Am I missing anything? I lost my last page. Future business, right?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Future-
Okay, February 20th and 27th, we have special governing board workshops over Zoom. And then we have a regular governing board meeting March 4th, 2021, tentatively at this point on Zoom, but we'll see. Okay, we have to go back to closed session. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. See you in close.
Thanks.